Our blue plant Earth has gone through such periods 5 times that there is snow all around. Our sleepland on 5 times, so time passing has been, is who this on the snow? Only the ice and healthy. Winter, the weather is with such periods too. A doorway to the ices or blizzard race said is these icy the moment hundreds and thousands showering on bewitched would have had our ground on come. Freya page also has several thousand years until the strike will continue this. Last blizzard round of human newspapers and lives was, and the victim of the tools and out water bottle was the last ice age of during. About 25,000 years ago in Siberia from a hunter. Hey everyone, welcome to History with K. In today's video, we're diving into something huge, the history of the United States. From the revolutionary battles that changed everything to the rise of this nation as a global powerhouse, we're breaking it all down, part by part. We'll sit back, relax, and let's take a journey through time together. Trust me, you're going to want to see how it all started. Tony Hunt, of Looking at Belonged Her Yonder. See the bushes and the rocks of the search in the cradle. While it's so that any time wandering taken in one such way on the walkout, which these insane in a new world in the take, going running was at the hunter echelon, absolutely Tino, was at the ice market on the she falling, felt she gone be. R indeed too over these were, in the states of the holy. A man bit this bit way is this way merely because emerges came was that. Blizzard round in the ice edge and the relations of the solidified go from the police to be let go from these in. The water of the narrative 2 down lasted gone, was the center in the place mounds. Small big cumin and lakes of the holy way India have come, were it even a do this the same way was it. Hunter team you're with, the old world of genes given, this tight the way to the cross by New World and the Dam and Co. And then right here of being longer that 11,000 years ago, our land on at last occurred from which the finish will be the center of haunting then elevated blowjob in a tight little happy way than the deep water and the sinks were their way whom crossed by this predator. Dolly New World and came, were ages old world, and the new world of dreamland the way the cut was at the finish to be added. This place to us wedding straight says, are this read who you are in a campaign? It also is where the new world and the old world in a decision. Just 85 kilometers? 85 kilometers is but this. 85 kilometers of them makes from spacing to decide to, in the old world, to mark the half 10,000. Years seem the new world in it. Thousands of years how were this world who and how tracered that here, basically. Be otters too with what happened, and hear of an elderly today the world's superpower how to become, was I her loud look. Listen roots and we, you at lost ground the story little history of America show, are the 2 that new world and go that people, she predator. Echelon centuries and thousands of years in this very same big pleasure to pieces in the spread away were these people by urgent tessels of the foundation is also laid an uncountable small big who late in Purim. Colonizing even now that you have this map to just see it this new world, i.e. the effort states, the very same that the given map is the place today Mexico. Is he this place on a Zim Sultanate ad an umpire happened? And was about 2 million marmalade kilometers from the much acreage on ready this umpire, in the 500 to almost the way and involved was, and here 60 million human beings live were the first. Umpire of passion in the south and the bottom of the side, this place to the land area of the Maya civilization of the citadel was at Tessel. About 4,000 years old was art and culture in this very name, 'cause B was Maya the post. Here is a very big culture, very large civilization. This umpire's appearance in the present, was this umpire nowadays the calculation of see if American original. Fruit door from the start through Chile and Argentina and the countryside far extends. Kurd was their sultanate of population about 1 million, 20 million was these photos of the addition above below. This whole state in the very sea little. Big also West Indies of the yoke and the hair breed of people were the same way the whole states in the channel from ranging Brazil and the far. Place the person of most small, the little girls in you they say, the can are these in the live. Were right that their favorite for the night was whom he large scale on that were corn-like to who this new world of people millions in were at the same moment the old world and even 5 million of the nearly people claim were, but at both side of people, millions of people, a second from exactly the right moment. Or rather them too, so no. And the world said itself not she was right stories in the right. A map on, and not any of the memory in, because both of Atgar 1,000 years ago, from the cut hides was so. Of course, that some stories are whom, according to the old world from the lunar forgotten lost people, mistake from never occasional new world of desire to reach the were. I think of these. Some people said this about in written any 3rd century, i.e. today from number 1700 years ago. The Chinese clock in a way drawer stranger, land of referring to the Geddes. Chinese cherry in this ground the shoes and wrote was whose mean is, and the top 20 in the world from the bee of no place. For in written today to the famous of the seas of the fall and the fusion of Sahil are if their land to the later. Famous of side match 1,000 kilometers of forced travel fix used to be Soe, and the seas to come is that which the blue color. A V is very attack up is, and in Valentine is B can have it in Switzerland. USA only he, because efforts in the US China's famous one only in the is, and it is crossed by A and C's, i.e. the def B made Russia the Atlantic Ocean by the wind to start to be used is the same, like the 458,408 in a rumor monk Shen has in China from his 4 companions, as with the famous one by year of journeys start did. He 40 years a stranger and living doing back came whom he also 3 Chinese, only of according to Dr. Subhash of the same name. Given he or spread is also written in which their s things right. Occurred town of 500 years after the poor and Yadov of the Viking square also states arrived, and the place today. Canada is he Newfoundland of the terrain and your settlements also persisted of had these settlements of the models today. Also their present is the Chinese and the Viking his way, some Muslims also, claimed you then. He is also the 10th century in Spain of lukewarm. Abdurrahman owned the rounds in the states arrive were rather he so there Abadia, also persisted of was as. The mosque created was, and this is the name of the shredder, is also the, was it? His claim is that the proportion of any such only claims are that those things the Native Americans also ask were, i.e. their file and ever India from no Hindu. Their reached was the US has had the same, because of cream billion covers them, such as issues to ask were so friends this way. The claim then. And also much from you, but the issue it is that it claims right to be or wrong. It makes no difference. Is not a difference in this thing from the reading was that if someone gave this district to this world to prepare done, and he accurately understood that a new world is, and he has this new world, the old world, from about ushering used to be a people has come go to the start have to be so friends this way right, so the Chinese of the side from the presumably happened was not himself. Patan of the journey from not only a Muslim or Hindu awakening of Mohan Roy from both worlds in the way of these while, and it correct understood do, that both place which the stranger had thousands showering from the old world, and the new world in which agencies present was thousands, showering from he present, making the old world of people that understand our Europe and USA of the peers on the world over B is in USD capital also, that understand where that their sails from further water, same water as, and some, even not the eye in burning mountains. Burning the way at distances thousands of years and also persisted longer, can was but then it happened that the 14th century S50 century, this century in the international power dynamics and the strength of the army game and a due shift came in at all. Some change can put the old world of the human being, and any pride of the human being so forced to be was that. In him your comfort zone from your witchgraph, it is far from out of nickel, are the new way, in the new game looking for a new. It shift Muslim Fatai, whose because the came was at just the festival a J de music and Camus research fellow, happened to this old world making, Native American, 25,000 years ago? Except come where their 14th century, from the first until the pure off a big strength was a dominant force, was Zo, which lord of the Roman Empire hundreds of years until the world of Wahid superpower is had in Asia for many areas until its rulership fetishar were, but our fair FA Roman Empire weak matures, lasted gone, and after all, in its only niche, do not. Valentine umpires the rest left, was that we also now come, where he Sidi Costantonia was, whom the old devotees of recall, and the mighty walls the area on right now umpire, or the Sultanate said, was then, in that 1453 support them loud Rome umpire, also come free assigned to the Turks as nice, if not that a youngster Ottoman Sultan Muhammad few by Costantonia too, no by Roman umpire s, always the two-hand. Mar given the town the name also Costantonia from changing the Istanbul, put given the 15th century in the or woman. The strength die has been had, and now their white weeds sold already, was because Costantonia, just a key military airport, the same not was, rather, Europe of a Mukand, the city also had her products in this rectangle. The more was it Roman Empire. Of the first Muslim auspicious time in Mand did was one time by here as a fantastic church has been Sofa also. Timer orchestrated was therefore the whole Europe as part Yamunanagar. This city from up could vow, interested were but the act of Iloa. This city of one in importance also was because this city Asia, on special usually on China from Europe. The evidence of a lifeline was Central Asia's markets from China, the silk spice tea, precious stone, gold silver, and not go to what do. Something the same way from the young man came to love was now Costantonia, the Turks of the hands and the go-go from the IT way off to be added. This suffering from the Europe of people wash perfumes, spiritual both like from an agit in the free night, is mental as on. Yun, that the traded way off being from Europe in the employment of the spot, much less be the were rated poor to be engaged. Were, in the extent to rise to be engaged, where that eat drink of the rash filled were hungry from the force of the people your children. The dirt to pile on the throgo were farmer interest, happiness to engaged were, or riba on loans ranging at slave come, see life spending on the force, were then friends am. I haven't felt that hungry naked people, your go save of the predation on the good, is something as such in the light, the extent to growing. The were that Europe's streets in the pedestrian walk that your eyes are on the ground. As instead the sky aside picked up keeping were fun. It was of homes and hidden perpetrator windows from the stone dropped. The secrets walking those of Sir crushed, give the were, and then these corpses of clothing from which Pecan was old. Were heard the chair part corresponding in, was that Sir, up looking far? Gone to be if you people by then the guards put two were, but we have the people set up a diar, where the official mushfig also cert recent and unaided be possible were then. Friends, it is then the young man's death occurred catastrophe was which of Costantunia of Wood threatened to go from and traded way off being. From the job at He Hui was the second catastrophe spiritual was Europe of the hardcore religious this. I understand our were that Sorab, which the Christianity of the citadel was your terrain. By Muslims of the possession and the BRR. So now these people the most was that is this rectangle of for a difficult time is the same terrain rose be every day. Low BRR and geography of Alba from depleting RR, they think was that, if this streak continues going so far, it not be that. It's Christianity the same finish may be, or its powerful status to the finish get to be so. It got was whose foundation. Unnoticed players to their strong professed of the strata to a new world of looking for, was but one such world and have the pros where to find the can, where he then not know, where that their Maghreb and just 45,000 kilometers of spacing on, one such world exists is whose acreage this whole world of acreage of nearly equal as is, in which natural soil gold silver, crees etc. from any rosary material is them, so just the world of the address was in which, famous that traveled by China. In Japan until reached B2B had these both, the i.e. China and Japan S, referring to those days Europe of a home and B as Wazi as Iso, of Marco Polo S. From now every place in Europe in the reach has had Marco Polo has on, China the call, and Japan the soldiers to written, was the Japan of about and she, wrote was that here the royal palace of roofs sleep. S are the doors and windows even the gold from dressed while. R, and often the rooms of the floor at the gold S 2-2-inch thick. Plates inside is this the way she object and its Mongol human Kublai Khan of the College of Tales, also increased go to Mabala. Re from the very graduating from the present made were if which Marco Polo the spray covers the lower half years ago. Of the written up was but the bad things. Now poor thrust it to Marco Polo's from the same expectation of the housewife. The beam was then, "This is Marco Polo's from European youth in Pakistan, 'cause the going was that he has someone like China. In Japan up arrive? No. Way looking for use, and he not gain to the try." The cuckold stories pepper spice planting Marco Polo is written was but the issue it was that. Sunny way so the Turks had closed the given was second way the Mediterranean. See if cross Egypt from would have happened, is was it way too as that you map in the view, are those people of the Muslim Sultanate of possession in was by the way also throughout. The Mediterranean Sea and by Arab, in my care from Egypt's strength. Short large Islamic way of these was which your pajars of ships on the attack. And lives was the pride to get there from, is also no safe passage, no mafuz way to not get can, was immersing rough a kind of Muslim. Your pieces income was one, and the way which Bartolo in diameter, such as Mohenjo-daro effort did, was Africa. Against tossed in Asia reach of was, but its way very heroic, was very length of these, was a one-sided way. Even months in B finds was now we have this understanding does not come up happening, was that Asia reaching, as to who bit the way. The choice to which these free in can also be makes, even be so that he is this way from Asia came, evidence use. In your vow of hand-ma tax, could the desolation of Alam and Anan? Maruf strike any or front came he it claims are made that her Asia and China and Japan go to the most. Makes the way seem to have it in his recent in this way was which is exactly perpendicular straight Atlantic Ocean. I.e. the sisters of the amazing the cross do while fix would have, and the way in no big merg them too, the risk is also not become to be. Had this very big bet's half face, and he's destined to change the keep can was it claims to fetish MILF Christopher. Columbus's music that the Italy of the city of Geneva from the interconnect keep gonna. Columbus your life the larger part relations and opportunities has been, is it also your round of rest? Youths of like Marco Polo, of from it a lot, would just... It's donate the he sun and the moon, the stars of the help by the way. Looking to the mastering is that round in the read-written. People so much so lives have were that the land round is Columbus, also only considers was so. His idea was that the world is round is, so if it's you but in even direct the train, used to be so simply, no 4,500 kilometers of spacing, on the just ask. I.e. Japan come will be Japan's makes way get been so treat China. Also get the added Asia full only find was the Columbus of recent in Asia. The get-go realized was such as any gold of the ear of the no-get, to be whereby as much as are the gold pick, and Europe in the be-but. Columbus's dream just sleeping. And both was not was he himself the Christ's plum now also calls was indeed the machine. Compliments in Christopher's well-known, a person of Lent famous, was the one who Jesus, Christ to his waist on the back by Daria Cross orchestrated, was this. Christopher, the Christian world in Christ Birava's name, from the recall done is, was so this ship. Brown Christopher Columbus of any hand, was that like a compliment of this match entry character? Christopher, by whom the script to Daria Cross orchestrated, was he also probably the chance to kayak, the Cross gave his care at it this way. Presumably, was that the rectangle of the decisions of the four, a new world looking for the B where the Roman fire of Side and Azim Christian. Umpire line was a must-how to you friends, this charge the gold from the rich too, and a Christian empire. Work to the half for Christopher Columbus pure PM deer of floating around filtering find. He, Italy, from Portugal was. Portugal from England has been every place his magra best side travel of the audio to the present does been an investment gain. To the tried as being now which and thy, so those days bad most were forgotten thing from before. Only his waist broken who he was, and also force was, but the sentence was that a thing is probably. Malacca gave his help to the stickler not loaded, and Anna S. and she is your idea not left 1485, forces 5 in, you special well that time Spain on the president. Seconds and know that do this. The bull of the home were pen in Columbus 7 years until Malca for meet the try does. Is Malacca's pass, found the size of the time not was wasteful of after the normal of that time, Spain from the Muslims to the extract. In MSF were, after all, when 1491, 4,191 in Spain and the Muslims of the last bastion, else comes, even spank of tired, so Malacca by Columbus to his court and calling took. Columbus by Melka, from your ID or stock, used in her mind reminded that is plain. A superplane is which every appearance thrive will. She explained that Jin lands will he remember to be happening is, i.e. China and Japan, there from so much world so gold would come, that Spain rubbed ilby will be that's not, but Asia's biography lands on Columbus will he said that there s people to this line. Make the easy will and then Spain's come a Christian? Umpire there to spread the will Malacca. Do dissipate some Jelawarin, and perhaps some religious emotion of the pathways, and come and Columbus to the external journey of allowing and Gardner's help from to the Congress are given to Spain. The court in Columbus the first success get made was but Malika do mail Tino, where that the Columbus of the things on shore are getting, is she to him a few cheat do is just Malca only from why. Columbus hasn't if those women on the attack from any cheating done which in Mr. the successful being the ones where it cheat this cheat was whose? Because of these all? People's lives danger and have been had he world of what was Columbus's journey and its peers, set it decapitation to the program. Why made the strike also Asia, to reach the passion in your attack from what? He sees is it all you show but the history of America, and the other variety in the Christopher. Columbus by Malca Spain too, and your staff with the cheat given, was because he himself, the much larger ship, run, or captain. Of course did was he so big captain, and mastering hard not, had him a few things of help from the paths of the interconnect to come, was a few ships on. He short fat jobs also have occurred, was at the ponds of Verna Mercury also her gain was, but the overhaul he big boss babe of Avery level of caboodle was at common advice, a fixed captain overlooking the floor of the side, flow slow down was, and such. As the time ticking bin had it attack it against would be going to, was here until the one-day state apparatus by Christopher Columbus to the decapitation to the program made, took Amla your captain to decapitation why do want was. Columbus your screen death from how I ask is, and this confronting how the new world of the seven districts in the rift be I am Paris, and watch and listen as the sister, the new series, is the history of America's second installment in the we. You that's all please show are two of the train at depth from before Spain, rulership by Columbus. Just many promises made a promise, so it was that Columbus, that Spain's area in the elite class included our taken will be it, Spain's official titles top player, and given the will. Whose mean was a gentleman but it's an and the color it was. This title of the people, and they come up breeds your name. With the dawn of LP's hymn, were he the Dow Jones, which the eyes of affairs in use would have the second promise it made was, that Columbus to the grade of admiral of the question of the titles given to will it. Their paralyzed and Marat privilege gain will be, which the Spanish principality of oil to admits to gain, was those numbers to tried as the localities from which also precious stones. Itzirel leave their 10th part also Columbus to get it even. Decide to be added while these areas in which the ship acquired. That will be these ships on the stuff of the scope of the 8th part of Columbus, to the accessories of the Sri. Muqtazar Sahib Moga Columbus to attack from even Spain, Escamina. Promise made, and it was that the ship of state apparatus of which a person, the first Asia of the territory shall see her life around with for every year 10,000, Morawi of stipend, get will remain in its existing value. No, you understand, 1,500 USD to odd paired is the pen of the Almighty. It all promises are. Getting was that the architectural future of about in were at that time Columbus to which something must had he some give in. Pen of Malika some skimp from work in getting there was by the way also the last installment in you see the same have. Are that which and now the situation is extremely bad to be watched were so? Malika said. Columbus the so pressing Mohans too, just to the ship given this ship also, that the official treasures from not given lightly in the same territory of the people of Milan, where from Columbus and the departure of the train started to do, was Malika the terrain. The people, the ruling given that you masi and some such things of was which our frills don't get in the pertness of contains only the fights and the miss. Was so you punishment given was that you did your gladness on us a year of two to ship, and we have to you, so now we let you dictate give? You this ship, then we do the double just from the ship, so plus to get there from the get-gone, but these. In keep of the USA, and eat drink. Of the stuff is also very much not given, was her total overall her both ships of the just 8,989 crime of the graph on the SWA. We have been a few small, so on the count of gun of an eat drink, S. Also not quite the stuff. Headers in the side given to that, so less stuff and creams to see, while Columbus has himself also a part the. Race of side a third welding and Santa Maria debt on the gain are taken. Which of its own ship was now its here 3B the were. And these three of the latter cases at large big tulip Salem Bunny occurred was the third. November 14th Nov to Columbus by shift only train of the inheritor done at Sahil on Malika. And Colossus by sleep of the shadows and the church of the bells and the oft did he, Africa with peers from some far existing. Black Canary Islands from would have happened to your scale of according to Asia or Japan's side going. Was his calculation in the Canary Islands of Japan until the journey difficult, and a half to 4,000 kilometers. Had to wait from such air moving was which McGrab's side go easy D had a ship made so we ago I hear. Came was that even from the caution? The tax is so friends here from 3 in August to the 3rd of August too when Columbus sailed up so. Now her front zombies as much as the sea's spread was, and that on the floating 3 ship whose captain too also basically and not know, was that the ground of the doubt again when. See, the luck will be any or not, a J2 music flashlight start. Of the birthday, so friends travel absolutely fine going to air very good. Also we have the people, any person we're having fun in the, we're so ship forward mounting, move to the big easy from Columbus daily. Auspicious your cabin in the breakfast does, and him after he become from the water bottle and the sky of the side. Looking at the weather good living of the dua does, then he take the people from the get. When does is the necessary instructions issued? Does in room and the run is? Is it external journeys that round of the extent of, according to the sun and the moon, the stars of the positions of the two decide to be B was. Columbus this work in mastering, so not was but of course does was that he. IT expert is her after a Nemscope Kumar triangle of the appearance of the alam was, which with he. Shocker alter sun and the moon the stars of positions to monitor fiction, and this according to your. Sim of Taiwan does, was, is zoom mukish na, someone usually on, but also the way on further increases the run was, that round of the scale of 210, to 15 days in them. The ground appeared to give should had but when even the day after. Even the ground so aside as any ground for easy airy flying free etc. Even an IT come so Columbus of Amla sufferance of up to leave began to attack the people in such things start to be made that the Italian man himself, well off in dawn become of the affair and we first want, is if some day and you only passing the NE drink of the stuff over to be added then, our lives then has been to treat the 12 day and same, like other, so good be, and other apparatus. To your lives clean of danger in the eye, come engage them felt that, if Columbus of the passion of the with, are so hungry thirsty seas, in killed will and fishes of meat eating, will he? Columbus from return of Mutleb be had, but Columbus never. Believe that I your death in front view that the attack of some people by, Columbus as the death on the think starting, or given, because if her kill given is, then of course is the return of the train started to be used. Message also now ships. In this things be inside was his me, in which Columbus was were that, Columbus who bit Spanish is it, it's belong Spain than not is rather. Italy from is when the ship of the rest, Sarah Amla Pen from was the Spanish, had so here is a comet of. Logistics or tight one also, was that the Italian to the season throw to give from it, our Spanish who have then some not betted return on the say, that he then hands the partner, death hit was is low from. Low a to die from rest all the Spanish of life so the escape should that not the same thinking to come go to since it happened that the ship of Amla? Columbus from rebel to be felt often in Columbus. The some issue then, it's the abiding from clean nicks, make you rather angry and jubin her. Kill the meaningful Columbus of the situation to by day. Dangerous are going to R where they're in. We have the people to now more than much greed give up. The thoughty reward of greed by giving control and the keep, as tried doing, is was but at much. Success T find the getting was this attack too, if you your present look come look was such in these deeds grams. Who thinks that if this desolation and discomfort in the realization of being felt, that them look to wash and be engaged. Such as the face and the thirsty the water of the spectacles of wine it marks would have the same kind of its staff to any time. Yon feel as like he front the ground come was that he Asia reached the Arbut, when the ships of the disease board are that way divided as where some people on the ground appeared to give the look meant was then. There are miles to travel too, since even the ground to get was just water. Only the water would have for that mean a deep water here until the blue sky. Also sea water only visible to give thought was the top down the right left. Further behind water, as the water at despairingly failure battles, and the death of the horse. Of the holy ship of the attack in from any one had we of the keys of the voice from the maniacs of the way. There while he sky in we the roasting felt Sarah. Amla her with tandem sky too during thought is, with October S evening Columbus and his. Staff too merely in films of the Hall of Valves show, given it's the Princess up America from after, by strict winter car by the west. Indies of the districts of the side to be, were so free one with a date, make it so like paradise found was, that music, and the elderly of this, that many are Columbus's for any illegal help from low, not was he even your ship of charge in the same? Sim to turn gave way side heart br, were she your staff the good news, recited skin prints of with, plenty and soon as she'll land to continue to keep, but far be to travel to in spite somewhere on the ground appeared. Not given we of Nazron now wine, so he don't, was because Rondon she further increases, or were we of noise also increases. Only be. Happening was that noise these of hope become paying, was muherta price on. Soon the soon leprosy sleeps see wishing re were but 3 days, and passing hard ambush also look come ever right. I come up noise ever. Every goes ever we are that this ground the ought know somewhere not was a ship of the case a time than deep thinking in the sinks where he, Columbus to surround the took and her kill the intended. Used to attack the people by the problem and the warning, given that he ships the stance. Cornering the ruling issue too, or then he can cancel the tax of the seas and the throw will give. Columbus the 5 weeks from these free police vehicles from, and attacks from, and mad of greed from the stop, was now a way to overcome and get. The new trick her mind into naught, was he the career of the last stake of generally on the attack from the promise made, was that him just 3 days of time given to, if the ground look come has been so well, or else he back away go to prepare, is Columbus on his failure of Hoprider to be added this week, and comes stacked 3? The day he wrecks the whole speed from the run he had, this thing s also know, cared not that any unseen? Satan from her no one ship crash and the exorcist crash hanging. Not BB, in every danger the famous athletic and 3 ships on the mug question. Tamil take to run going, was he the discomfort from the ship of the margins on the blessed one, and away up eagerly from watches lives. It's 11 and 12 recovering. The free night was day 10 o'clock were that her above the horizon on a light eye. High. It's he round so friends not was that the power of the lights not to be and miles away from the visible letting go, then what? Object the light was, and now it philosophy. Themselves know not was that what is the object of the lights are therein. Here we have 2 out-recent voices even as he also came in just these lights to see, but his staff to light in the visible. T given some people the theme from the course. Of but the efforts of Mama and solve Naho could, and that's deemed ready at Columbus's, no Brahmin is, by the way, even if we today see if the place Columbus, the lights look. I was there from a cream also, which Cumin was 256 kilometers away, was, and its side on. If 4 million candles also burn, granted is so also it lights Columbus until T access may be had, but the lights of the wine, then another 4 hours while we're that, the third, has pinted the high stool on the stand. A person in the sentence away from a sand of the mound visible, will the night s 2 o'clock, the shining moons of the lights in the sand of Cumin moon. Of like glitter s had a few moments until the eyes did the latter, when the sure to be was that he not have alcohol T have, and it's not that, but rather the land is so she scream, and para, ground printers, ship with the Captain's gesture according that if her lighten up a bit, uttered by running a little bit, uttered by the rest. Two ships will also beware that given that when sleep I come has been as 136 day 36d, size of after tiring, give that train of after. Columbus of the deaf during the new world of the edge on reach, has had 11,000 years from missing the world of the address green grass to be had, was a happened, is that the printer ship S captain to Columbus, by said user word. Alonso did you land roaming, taken as the printer of captain by said sir my name came? Up so not will not Columbus the answer and said IU5. 0 dead with so again in UD land, in the go of the later ship of the right attack. Crumbs to kill on the Libra up, was suddenly his compliments to Felton said, heard excuse done Felton somewhere Columbus angry in his own name. The same right grinding may be because those in the a lot of people liked him kill the try also the was and look that up also do the same. He said as the one who believed in human liberty on the stand through the F. IRST ground. The saw was, and the look of for which the reward listed was there from, not got its name, Columbus gave himself put took. Columbus's claim was that that person from 4 hours ago she lights seen was two in the same spirit from coming. Getting was which methods alams there. Who from solar lights logi hui was friends, where from so lights so kilometers away. Till the sight comes, is he then in alcohol was cheating, was when Columbus to happen, was one of the cheats so it blind as he. Asia reaches is her film the same. Not was that he Asia or India not rather to 25,000 years ago. The old world of the brats of the hands. Populate having up new land on the axis has been, is he right there has the, Leah's 11,000 years from missing was thou of 11,000. Years ago, I said the finish to be from both the worlds of the way over to be added, was the ground on these thing occurred so there. Columbus for it, with only that now the hero to be must had friends integral part become the IT date the gentle. Boys off. The history of the play bloodthirsty screen of the titles, given why make people S Jarkand in Columbus of how Eskel be the new world. Columbus Chinese Japan understood was he sleeping looking to make people of with what look. To be was it all we have you will show the history of the US for the next part, which Columbus has shipped the new world of the 7 districts on the subsides. Then make the people the Native American it felt like the sky from no new thing and the ground on the come-up bin that he is dazzled from the ever so big ships to see, and never the color fill of clothes. Wearing your like 2-leg and 2-part that humans will see, it's all there for the very new, was he the innocence from there. Ships on the climb were he Columbus to attack from Mohabit, and your every object stock to engage them and understand in the very late her, that she 19 is sweet, give fetish Columbus and his with only their freedom and lives of the enemy is Columbus. The new world and its innocent people of with what sulk be do this? Why there of Columbus, the Marco Polo of all stories lie seemingly engaged I am. Oh. Brighton look listen to Yarrow, the history of the US, in the third of the so we you, that the word is music that filled us from a few ago, scattered. While connected stay and see us today, West Indies say are that by the way it's a nailhead, San Salvador is it, he admires only the cumanus which. On the 12th of October 1492, in 2002, the accessible Columbus's ship in the land used was the Chancellor d'Or 21 kilometers. So a kilometer long and 8 kilometers wide, little bit cumin as Native American this spirit to join a loss to say were it? Names the lizard like a beast Awana's name on the placed was which now the spirit from right cause to be repaid is over to be repaid. Is which cigarette on the dense forest was salty district and small short. Hills was today. Its cumin Bahamas the part is, and most profound after only lives, is so friends 1492. In 1492, in when Columbus suggestions Sahile on reach, were so second on the living that people took them away from the view taken and its news to others. Until even your people, to deliver half these stranger guests of the influx and the associated onster sea matcha. D stubborn will people these ships the look of the deposit to be engaged these from. Some seas in the jump let and chan to ships on also. Mounted sit and have their faces on the children as innocent sea happiness was he, are the praxis givery were like no sky from. The ground on the plunge came to be have the ground to the IT people know we're there so by the way big ships and this kind of colorful clothing to wear of. So the question itself not had the slightest of people so grass palate of minor from the odds in the live of accustomed to were it. Is today also a strange name only, where Rashima Kurji boiled account, were so good Columbus of the flowing streams. Of sight them for a big showbiz from Why Not was when Columbus kayak and the rider threw the face on the reach thereof, people said it. Welcome village at Whitehall the ground at some time gur, then back to the seas in your ship on it, Essahil. From some far anchor style was there and gone, it's been a few days since. Columbus and his companions by his ships from the cities, the seas, and the ups and getting, and Cumin for Sahils with, floating while in some parts of the side grow engaged. At that moment that the district of the countryside of all the people, the stranger, the guests of the influx of ILM, to be repaid was make people Sahil to withstand his escalar were I to eat drink of the things NAR, were here until the he them live the variegated colors of the beautiful parrots also try and go for it also, introduce the air were so sod AI. The answer in the Columbus and his companions by these tulip colors of caps in a few hours plagued Native American belles. The health of their R, and it bursts, and his voice hearing happy, R year of the juice, drink of the clear, exactly friendly was, and there the people. Columbus too further behind Gombiar where this big savory sight was but Columbus's sister. The views and some, and only see the going was he looking being, was that the cumin of the people are so very plain from this near. Where the dresses are not living on no castle or magnificent earth they are, but one of these from some people by your nose in the earrings where laid was, which that we have the gold of the visible cheats had those numbers, no one could felt that. Ho na ho, he is the Marco Polo of assigning while come in sight gay Japan, to anywhere also access has been, is Marco Polo. His routine was that the soldiers of the closer things of a little bit, group present is, and Columbus gave it, full from reading kept was the rest that moment overlooked the youth of the way, but it, from the foundation on the same so, there in Japan, in China, until the of it, but also the route tracer to the mission's start. Done was heard in the check Columbus is here a very short time here, and to further grow the program made the tide as he soon boundaries to pussy Japan looking. To do and their reach wanted was but just dissolved to be the go from the first he had a job, and be, make the people from the more than much gold. Gain to the triumph and those people from the gold gain to do so much, only easy would because Columbus has your diary and written as this district. Namely, San Salvador, and also against of the jewelry on he, as also people see he's all give thee. Which habitat were the clothing of without, where you have no iron ore of hashes? Or no and weapons also not? Were not only at people, such weapons have used, know that we are making a person's life not like. Columbus wrote about these folks, only 50 men. People don't know if Kolar was going to help them or not. They were so naive and then housed that the whole view was without making sure the same thing didn't happen. People like that might also have the world in the present. Are you these people who even ask him to provide them? He never said they were buddies, so this rust. Goyle from the NAACP, Malkin, of the current application from the future, obtaining people. Sala Columbus and his friends were able to get to the front without any help. They were able to get there with the help of the gold that had been raised in the last decade. They were looking for homes and managed to live like a Native American in their homes. However, they also understood that people want what they want, and they were only able to say that they were when they were told to. He other from a few people too clutching, forced his ship on captivity are taken mode of Columbus of this torrent. Of them a little much your tongues space Dravidian of the work taken to be, and their help from these small employment of the back as the Marco Polo had written was the cops in China. Reach should now just demand in China, so there were only not Columbus, the guide said if ever see. Schenk in China used the name even not heard. Was that them, the Columbus of things from something so understanding? I that he is a very big cumin of thing are going to have, and this guide is a big cumin of no. Baral know where so it is the people now at a close set cumin on the take came to it he. Place was where today the young of Mulk voice is to all. The way to Columbus, while the institution is that he just now in Japan at the same foot had reached the same. Fetish is that when 28 October 28th October 2, he is Cuba's place on the scale, so there is also no gold. Not was he got continually. Perhaps he says, i.e. China access has been, is now he. Cuba and the China of the great city search does, is whom therein. Marco Polo for free in the fall, housed were, but soon the same proven to be been to that area. So China also does not have it, is also item not come her, fell in now. It not China and Japan, and nah. It is the gold of the street were just people of the nose and ears and somewhere anywhere. Gold the earrings laugh was Poonam, just at all see. Astonished and upset was what the trail make it. Madra, what is what Marco Polo by your dreams and falsehoods written, is that? Here heard the same gold was the prostate via desperate to be Columbus has 5 December to your side from. China of a famous city of exploring the starter given, whereby the young man in the olive's name from BR was, and who now and called, is when Columbus's ship the Cuba of Sail with travel tax or were, so wind their Mahalif internet walking engaged and make them age about 100 kilometers away. A and Cuman on the take-up has been the Cuman to this, the machine so-called were 6 December to Columbus this spirit on. The reached he conditions and he spiel of name given today, also at Cuman same name from known, is that Columbus that is Vinoba. On the landing of the later Native Americans, of the catastrophe that he, million Daston start occurred, so today some lyrics bear them, some historians, the American Holocaust of the name, also give you that no American's policy and the importance. Safe that she Camper Palace, West Indies. The second most giant Cuman spiel is this. JSA. On today, so the Dominican Republic, and is the name of 2 hens is present. But Columbus was there. So this is the spirit of the fools of this, until the sim not had, and here also, and box, breed of. Some people live there, were a lot of them, about 80 million, until the arrest. These people were like Columbus, rich and poor, or a little of both. Of course, on his way to see Columbus, he thought that if he just had access to the courtyard, he could go anywhere. The interesting thing is that it was because of his religious background that he thought that maybe the spiel of that area was where the Bible says that Hazrat Suleiman had all the hats of. Deaf huge gold diamonds, jewels, and spice level ranging came. It was then that the Sultanate of Part, also his recent Inmay, is the one whom the Bible and the service are gathering of. The name given is, and here, Es Malika of Katzas right Suleiman, all the hats in your nearby called was and friends Hazrat. Suleiman of the Sultanate, and false in was and where false, and where is cottonseed? This is what the Sultanate thinks he should do. How did this happen? B could be that Columbus to make sure. Was that the Bible's stories from B? No stranger in the world in the same way that it is not now. The Bible stories about Columbus's foundation are not the same as they were then. It is important to recognize that the gold from the rich should not be the same as the gold from the poor. That's why the screen of A, because Columbus and his friends were talking about this while they were sleeping. The small brightly lit up the night views, so I had to cover it up. Case final in a warlord by Columbus 2 year of make. Up a mask to sow again in the present do now so. Columbus the patience of the scale, confident to be where he deems. Planting, make people sleep for about, in the know, if you are but her, tell not our. Although this spirit was on so heard not by who was he able to get the race's achievements and money in a short amount of time. The intriguing part about today's speech by Jagtiani Nangal from Rich Kuman is that it is just the speech of Mukesh Kumar, who is an alloy of gold, silver, and copper in the mountains. The poison of the right welding and 20 billion United States dollars per billion. Dollars imposed is that, but of course it is this thing that time Columbus to know was, and not Native American, is this about in some. No, we're there near Mo over the world looking to thee, and for today's like stubbornness circumstances, if not. We're not why he's sleeping big, marched in the cum shot, in her quest to do so, those you had, however. Columbus has decided to be that the pen will get, will, and there from me, is a gift, ranging will, and the spirit of Kunti, border, of combing, ranging, sleeping, recovered by remain friends, That time until the compass of the state apparatus of make people from some clashes also start to be made was a place. Columbus's companions by to make people to kill him are given these people the blame, just it was that she. Europeans to their need to, according to the arrow in command, or then we have to be at the ready do not be our were. But it's one, and there were still Native Americans there who baked, so there wasn't much of a fight. Not happen was Columbus's your thoughts and the spiel to the strongest of the generally on hitting thee. Taken was where her recent insinalica are the present. Was the chance she needed, saying that pay coming back from the first here? Your one subscribe can be where he is, and his Maharashtra anti-gold also trying to do are then lumps the IT. Basic ship only in the get produced because his express. Santa Maria, that of Sahil's closer to the ground in language, was so Columbus's companions by G. Yes, I made it up from what I found, and they come from the Mosque Timbers deposit at the same stage on a little bit of open. The match was taken. Which form Norvedanta stated was here in Columbus. The year 39th Piers, to deploy the supplied. Want to give these people Columbus the gold find of strict instruct by giving 16 birthday 1493 6 channel? 1593 the back paint to be a return to traveling in Columbus. A few Native Americans too also forced gram making with the take was they ship. In very bad condition in the place was, which because of the way in as many slave, positive. Us comes the winter from there the dead were slaves, and some spice race of Iluahi spiel from so much gold. Of course what the take was that people, with a pen in her ass lazy, his joke didn't work, and he promised to give her gold. Bar arrange came then as Columbus has in Spain. He was declared to be that he is Asia, the new method Rifar taken is, and they're unguarded. Gold present is the Spain of the human by Columbus of claims to truth values taken him admiral of the sane. Of the titles also given, was which Spain of the properties from the promise made, was that if she Asia a Babima, as the remember the tax taken, so he, from it titles give, will now Columbus Buffalo of the area of the part become as had every place Columbus of hospitality and the data to be engaged, but these medals in his joke also made known was he why. Columbus, whom the New World try to swallow, convey that which the explorer said is he just a cumin on 80 million make people the death of fairies ups given? Why not the world to make people as dangerous weapons of combat? A little sea herbs from a fruit from Columbus's time. Against what Sue ran in her last day, how it all subsides. You'll show the history of America next. What politicians not the world in make people on Columbus and his Spanish teammates by so many who see that a Spanish writer itself of according to this Muslim rights moment he trembled ben, was the Columbus. Of the force in just a second on 80 million people in the destroyed, it's the given 8 million people thousands of years until so big the universe and Amen Mohabbat is so horrible that it has to be fixed. Why do you see Columbus lying down? Now he is a hero. Why did she become a Vion? It was her last day. I am Paris and I watch and listen to the history of the US series. That's all the show music. That garlic is a feast and a by Columbus. From the said you have Asia of the way fixed clean by who bit the arrow hitting the taken. Have you not tried to do so? No? And make takes this on Columbus by some eggs? Manga and of course Green from said that they consider the table on the direct. Stands by the show. Let the people by the very attempt of but have failed our eggs every time any not any side tumble pets were then Columbus by. An egg is raised and is one side to the table on the crash a little bit pick taken. Which after Columbus liked it very easily from the tables of power on the stand are given, is the young Columbus hasn't agreed to this message, given that when a work to be used is, then again, he has all the easy seemingly thinks, but the success of the real credit the same to the meat should in which it worked the first did, would that now be as friends. This it is but a lace joint to be bogus story to be, but Columbus took your things from the penis, human the one time again entrance add the given was he. Human from the demand of that her, with a big force in this new world or Asia, the new way of the side which is clear as he to the B. So he made a pledge to bring in more than a lot of gold by carrying the pen to the deposit Karwa, as Malik and Colossus to pass it with he Spain of the home the slaves of greed also. Given and said that their people very good to be the alarm proved one if them. Spain and brought to, so that the spin of the human Columbus of things from so musser while, that he 17 external vessels of a giant from 06 of a raft Columbus of Handover, can put these ships in the staff of 1,300 people of Illawa. Some droves in the professionals tow the judge also included where the soldier was near Sword's Bank. In tears. This time, a giant candidate was there with the reform, the flowers, and the dog. Columbus's last train was not very big, and it was the first train in the you remember. It was only 90 job people. But this time, it was 2,000 to almost force her. So force was that this spiel of the whole population to Basha by Aconite B2B had to Columbus. This external fleet to take every possible sharp refer to with the spiel reached. But when Sahil came off, he felt a blow to the back of his head. Was killed be already were talking, it was of Columbus. Of Spain to go to after those people by the gold of looking into the gang, by making walking start doing given was it people, women, and children too. Kidnapped by your past taken from, and then they like to do things with zinc. Like this race. And her forced Wagner to take them. The result is that one day the people will lose their patience, and he will hit the shed and the fort to fire. His peers gave the police the information they needed to stop this jam from going on too long. From the outside, it looked like they were running amok, but they were really just looking for gold and making the population the top make the ruling continue to be. Dubai people now school of recidivism and the spread were in countryside in predation to be engaged. But then, until this thing is speed fetish and the renown to be done, was to which the subject still people. Good easy tea have rather at them. Slave make and sleeping Rob came and put it in my weak spot where the Spanish force was. The fighting is not the Ken were elections in China in the from off in your countryside except the part that's because, was that the Spanish attackers too mostly countryside in them, which house were he black, only these were people so what he see. Village sir he's. Despite the Spanish attackers to their gold of a cleft until T met 1495 forces 5 in when Columbus to the west. Indies of the affair sprinting while about the fight 3 years to be gone, so she is now your failure. From the disturbing living felt that you are of gold T get going, was then he gold of the lack of slaves from the full, to the decision to be so 1495, in 4125 in. He are all for the deposits made, and this project of the people to the soft make. Of the earnest life and times on the climb are given this mode in 1509. Black fez, black women, and kids were brought to Spain in chains from the dam. These people were asking for the safety of the soldier and dog who were posted there. They were from 500 alarm, which looked more healthy and strong. They came to Spain in flights from 200 to nearly Native American. So friends deaf traveled too. Spain, during the same time as the muscle diseases of hunting through the dead. The mother of those who survived is now in Spain, and they are sent to markets in the frock. It appears that also poor make American pride now, we co not possible because he is here play big. Only not were the centuries from the thousands of years from then it all too by killed or soon only, it's Columbus. The idea to be added that the Native American to the slave by making which Sioux descend incurring, thing is so him, every recent in gold only looking to be tune, shall make the population of bait replacing forced labor taste, start when is happy by, Columbus, by 14 years, or this much age of all men to dictate, given that he, every 3 months and every 3 months in the gold of a special issue looking at are brought, which he's sleeping, take the fall so their throat in the wear of the copper of a token giving. Given is the person of the hug in this token T happen, was her hand undercut am at that moment, far flowing given is, was when until that person's death sentence not be to then recidivism, it also grow felt that thousands make people too clutching. This forced the mountains in taking transported are, and ask. Them every mountain to the top from the bottom up, many times find the work taken is which people Monday to wash gold retrieve where them every. The water in the dip stand stick, falls shattered, his waist. Tomas was at least a third of the population, so friends of these laws and hunger and illness from the fight, the dead have come. The so far ears in, on the work of the twos send the given is had while their women from miserable at Spanish walk, or S and young women S, make men and women from the friends so link a labyrinthly that they're a whole breed only has to be made topper, so their child now cause. The same not contain were, and if get any pets were so, I let them milk do not drink. Can was because of hunger, and diseases of because of their children to the milk feeding of the slit as finish meant to be doing was Columbus and his fellow Spanish. People sleep of looking in this extent until the fall where were that she is the mother to the children's care, until the moment. Give two prepared not were to see the same sea the thousands of child. Hunger from Modasa the dead were a few months, so the powerlessness of the alam. In your children to own the water and immersing are hitting the highlights because she has them remove your tongue. Remove. Your tongue can die not see the can was then the city cano and the die the lectures in and baby milk of the scarcity of virus. Lives squandered sitting the last week in this ground. Which is very the only great in Sarkay was on now, was he in humans of non-existent from the loss to be made. These Spanish raiders of then the city on a Spanish Reuters to Columbus for some, it's since there go the chance got, he sees is that he's such in the human being daylight in your eyes from the views. Are they going to write time for him from the feet up to the trembling? Going to have the time of with the young generation raiders of the Muslim low to be of rather than mounting? Only BR were madly in love with the rose. So easy decision to be made where why so walk even your pride of against comprehend, where tune your ride to the Native Americans to animals of the kind used to be, if them somewhere. At let us quickly occur if the Native American of his waist on the rider via go-go, or then he ropes from homemade made swings like a ride was therein, sit, go, and to Native Americans. They picked up further behind the movar with, and some other slave also occur, which leaves from Saya when Hamlet is also of the feet from these Spanish bombers to the air. Give you the pen and attacker who is now their size, become the worthies the nearer the Native Americans of the blood, and respectably. The no price not was which explorer as came where that bloodthirsty free become having, where how many bloodthirsty. Of some soldiers so just your knives and swords of the torrent check to two to the stage these people, the clutching bring, and it seems from the get-ups take, then suffer the spectacle. There are it's there for a mamu she meant was recent. It was that one time Spanish soldiers by two Native American boys from the parrots helped them guiltless boys of Sir. Pen are given just for fun, just a few minutes of trafficking of the two. Children of their cut, it was not just the movies that were played, but also the games. The West Indies, the Second Judge, and its JD were all there. There were also people killing each other because of hunger and diseases of the eye. They were from Cuba and had been there for 3 months during the 1,000 children of death happened, and all the Native Americans who were living at the time saw it. This brings in serious slaughtering and free of behavior from tight Cumhav where he who the latter part of the combat was a try. But every time he spanked his gap, he was in his territory, except for the mountains. He had his pick of the Spanish musketeers and their dogs, who were chasing him through the forests. Do in them shots in the target make, or them. Grasping them on your meritorious dog leave, give these innocent people the report here, until Gosh takes them and kills them. This is a huge deal, and aged is against it. When people don't run, they last. Every time they do, they use a fruit to make the decision to be the fruit of name Goswami Juban in impaction. This fruit has millions of Native Americans. He took an airplane from the save to force this halo boss prose to a J to music, a sweet welcome to this fruit cassava and its many poisonous types. When Native Americans were around, they used to plant the poisonous ones, but now they are removing the poison. This is common, as on he place and your friends the beasts of prey do, but this time the poison he himself used to be as decision did, an awestruck breed of people. The owl voice and the vast scale unutilized own happy start are provided the murder of his milk drink children too. Also he poisoned place is always of the Columbus, and his Spanish peers of all the reminders. Amon was the best. Then there was the pleasure from the dead, not the can. There were so many people from other areas who escaped and were saved, and they managed to be the ones who were not killed by Serdar hands. He was taking some people to comment on why he called her. Some of them were a little bit of gold, and I was the blossoming stage on reaching the hands. Take all the people of the front gold. Put and said, it is he thing which is due from us. Decapitation BB is then therein lays your clan to the Spanish people's avarice and malfeasance from the save. As for its gold, Daria threw it away, knowing that it would move less to the park. But it try also a work, not come when the Spanish attackers by Cuba's stand did so he hands a records. To find dragged raiders by half, or more people to its clan of people to murder, are given that which the remainder of the survivors them, slave by making the wager taste start doing, handed them material to start are handed. Their chief hands aside not they tablet Mari, and not to be made but everybody. Ere a few sticks of pylon shackled down the fire felt like it was provided. But the death of the first pastor embarrassed a few European pastors over the centuries. When the hands burned the wood, they were loosened and fastened, and they were running. If a pastor tells you that you are the Christ, you should feel closer to your heart. You were born in the play paradise, and you are in the filing to be hands by the answer given. If paradise is the same place as where you are, such as Christianity pets, I am tofed and go like with the Yoon friends countless human being gold of hungry humans of hands killed, were this many slaughtering and to devastation of the basic responsible. If no one person was so, he. That's what we that pressed three of the leader Christopher Columbus, was that it's all greed and recidivism of spite too. It vain. In the so gold tea offer might that which he promised to be was a stool of gold too instead of the royal court in his complaints tear. The fuselage access being had, he the rapidity of make span of the ground or being had, and recidivism stream being was its taste. Hearing pen in too many people, his heart melt thee, and we have just the save start being fetish was, and this. Jamal and the important character Ada did her two brothers. Columbus and his two brothers too also spiel brought was 1496-06 in, when Columbus the second time. Speen will come. If she is your place, your brothers. The cumin of the charge made gave both brothers by Columbus to maintain. The game system, the strong dangerous pounded, gave Columbus the IT system start. It was that he meeting Americans of the warlords of this duty felt, gave was that he your monitor in the mountains from sleeping. Nicholas if Columbus of the Maharashtra, anti in her. Brothers had it done that Columbus's policy over by Native Americans of the bad is the juice. The year's starter given, and also for your favorite people. The contracts give the starter given the, but the rest of Spanish, or after the cars. I.e. he people whom the new world in the locker resettled has had them in fact not given been. So sexy and free in the tribal chieftain, angry to be the penis the rights to this matter on even angrier, was that he Columbus to gold big stories on. Sure do sitting were, however, spiel reach of after them there is no gold. T-got was the chance. These people by Columbus, and also the brothers of that U uprisings are given, in Spain's royal court in Columbus too, against the complaint. The officers felt made the court of the side from the Spain of the Chief Justice of the inquest of the spiel sent. Was this during the Columbus? Chewy states of the territory, on where today I this villa is she stepped to keep already was here also. The same maniacs of like sleeping only seek the going was because he now, until that understanding was that he, Asia and China to the other side of looking for the taken, is as the Marco Polo of the spheres and the written, was that their gold. Is so here, heard will however such smooth ones were that he, these areas, the tracer, not the can which that patina and the lettering were, but he, I'd understand, to prepare, not had. Perhaps he is this worth the same not. Was then the companions of the with it happened, was that balance. Bella has also her sleeping tea. Got and she empty hands spiel, will get come. Was this according to hear his, it into his spells was spend spiel access has been had, and he, Columbus's, against huge following around the side Native Americans of the complaint listening to Lee was. And he Columbus against it all, hearing, and her makeup knowing, decide to give given then by Columbus and his two brothers, the chains in fastened on. October up to 15 years in tin funds and the three prisoners to Spain offer given, but Columbus is very clever human being had therein convincing power too much time so he returned to travel to during the same Penwith. Lucas's name on a hand ready done it if the check's desperate burst was but this action by the king and Malika the convincing. Our taken caught and written was that even if he is still sleeping looking for not doing, could but he this the very close access has been, is caught. Read the post according Malika has his own of the ruling given, in July 15th days and description comes. In him a met, any of the met in Columbus by them sure, reminded that her at time, and in the same spirit. On the go made to be then she sleeping, find the same back will come the choice of the latter Sharma. Remove the note then his subsequent demand Lee and her the last time traveled the allow and soil give the following. For him just the journey of allowing so this is the time to get gone. But now her new tracer improvement games of the governor of the post from the delete given was now he governor of status from not rather a common explorer of the status from the back. Going was 1502 in Columbus on his fourth and last journey. On off up he is Asia's deception in it inside Mercury run was that him there? The Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama from the meeting of the element 2 was, however, of Vasco da Gama. Africa's down from the Asia of a way to pass the taxes had, which of course is he. Place not was where Columbus reached was he that place. From thousands of miles away were his last journey in the Columbus Gold S, looking in Honduras. Panama and Nicaragua in also hit the hit. Is but at sleeping T got this during the he is a time you're 50 peers of with Jamaica's port influx. Gillian stuck was as near eat drinking the stuff over to be repaid was, and she returned the 4. Also the way the search not the find is, was he your external ship, the Shaheen on the same stop, taken, and some companions. Act! To a kayak in the scent, so that he spiel until the arriving of the way. Looking to them to go to after Columbus's for the difficult round start to be, was her near. Eat drinking the stuffed hands and mouth army people her. The stuff give up on ready tea were secure, and your skin addiction have been so Columbus by native. Americans of the with a weird she played she, Native Americans of the warlords to him, intimidated the police has said himself, and this thing on angry as come people, her purveyors of food, delivering lethargy RRR, so he, those people, the he, and disease of the via lessons teach the decision are taken, is he it is also said that the inscribed Native Americans to the given go, up the punishment of the handover. From the sky on the first one that assigned. Of course will it which Columbus and warlords from said that he that night sky on the moon too and from the view, because that night the moon start and that happened monitor will now, of course is the Native American at no up from the grave if he be supposed. Was not but Columbus's after, and so the reality of course was that the moon of the tulip, and flows up to be up thing her heart in the wazi. This way with him user stars and moon, the son of the calculation from the written made was that the calculation from that, and 3 days of after the 29th of February, continue, February 1, 504, Virat. Complete lunar eclipse, will be arrived in Columbus by the same table, or January on the sure keeping. The entire ATM from the Native American to a coming of threatening to give the cast then the young man this paste, she-hole can also be made. By the 29th of February of the night really Zimbabwe the eclipse look was Native American and She-Chang eclipse. Sinu Columbo's the truth on a sure come bin and he's afraid of killing Columbos and his companions to eat. To drink the stuff from Tadawur that he simply searched the US in about a showering. Yoon only grow had this during his comrade. Who kayak and the riders were he spiel, until arriving in the managed to be the were the spinners from the same exact restore help reach has been in Columbus life save sea from spiel run, but his is the 4th and the last train is also now circumvent. The going was rather, perhaps, the more desperate the angle the journey here was, so Japan and China reach a sincere heart into a desperate Columbus which is old and sick. Stay put was back to the pen run was, and then 1506. In his death until he, while being in the millions of unarmed Native Americans, of the death of the virus, become habits. Columbus last time up the mountain, thought by life still does, is convey that, Malika's promises. For according to him, the new world from coming that kind of very gold of 1/10 part out recently, get going, but he is your death until the corresponding. Deception in being is that he is the Asia of the new way looking for. R has have forced this fellowship Columbus, then Asia's deception, and gold not meet the desolation, and the die was but the other people such deception, and not come. 1501 in an Italian Marines which states, the rest ask any Columbus of the drift correction corresponding to the new world of the stock, took he up the ranks from what have happened down the Passion Inn. That place also been where today Brazil and Amazon s single is he? Columbus is not. Very perspicacious person was she this understanding in the late don't put that it is. Hush. No frill short fat cumin, not rather a new world is it the Americans the name on this new world the name states. I.e. music halo friends Columbus by Native Americans of the catastrophe of which the door is open, given was she his death. The with-off not up Columbus of the influx of 21 years of inside spiel, humans too non-existent from, yes sir, empty too. Be repaid was this juice drink on living that about 80 million. People whom Columbus Indians we had that pink raiders of phone secrets, diseases, and desolation of the hands now finished to be watched were the American Holocaust and temperate divine. Standard of, according to the spiel, on having big catastrophe, Japanese city Hiroshima, on Red Me, we have just 50 times much, was the rest of the places on which the massacre happened. He and Ilawa was friends this spiel of Shikumen is whose ground. In he millions of unarmed human being buried is that Columbus and the Spanish raiders. The death of Pierre Wade was these people of the place hear you from Afrikaans to bringing resettled start have been because he. Housing people aside from the eye grew diseases from the twinkling tea were rather among them Europe's diseases of immunity. Herefrom against the clit present was so very not, he and the white form of the latter cars of Leyden, and mine breeds, only today here. Populate is so Native American of the place of evenings, a voice official from the U.S. in slavery to a new round of goved up. But every time the breed of people that Columbus's death and devastation from 24 did, see even still officially on 100% over not the West Indies. It's a second, which is late by a few people alive escape ventured, and Jewy states in the bottom of the side will run its people today. Venezuela has not, and Suriname to the arounder, and many areas in the keep are ever the Columbus of the name. These people of the panic of alarm was so today, they which breeds survive getting is there too. Columbus of the name is I hate the trail. Is now in a large part the same umpire making of which is mounted and the start of was that his death the latter also continued taking? Spanish umpire West Indies of the most parts on the whole well placed to be done was, and now his eyes, those days too important banged occurred was where struck the umpire was it friends he Native Americans of the principality was which have really sleeping even was an uncountable other. Sculpture removal too but this umpire the people West Indies of the addition is a breed of people of side week not were rather the new world. Most powerful people were and it is the umpire their strength and umpires were here too. People by their Spanish of full combat be it combat. He how to be and it is the result of what turned out to be the inspector of he who bit the god was whom they identify in very late. In the U.S. and Spain the way of the last wall that who made it all, UL show but the history of America. Next installment in Columbus death too. 11 years to be already were where today. Mexico the Darrell, the holy Mexico. City is there is a large brackish water of the lake. Taxis too is this lake on a very big city, attenuated sight settle happened. Was which 2 million marmalade kilometers on spanning. Antique umpire of Darrell rulership was the city of Basel employee of Suez too, via the external world from the mixed. Has had 60 million population that this umpire of the DC marks on, and hotelier Shokot. In your example, you had the city and 60,000 home. In Hebron, 2 convened shoot from, and the other side the temps, where these templates on humans of Kurbani is also the Russias had, except for women. And the children, the sacrifice not done, and the city in Mussery, 0 on the lush. Bike car were at sea and the water on the floating. The feel, or were they we floating garden, say can you the city in the stone. Pads via the water supply would have had the city of the mark sheet every moment thousands of people from filled lives. Was here on the lakes and rivers and gold. Flows was whom the water drain, and pulled the air was, and Pingala are used to be used, was the centuries from here such as those songs. So much as, but at some decisions and some so we presentations of the virus killed were by the same sulfur. So we offerings. What was America in the A and Azim culture? Their civilization were missing to be made I am, how increasing on the look. Listen, as the history of America in the USU, that all show our music, that this rich city of brats, to a high sud, which from the one it was that he rust in your enemy, the cheat give the strict against it, is he declare a corrosion of without attack, to use it to understand were they that the messenger you for that moment their total proved happened when Spain of Alax, and tried just the 600 people of with their umpire on the climb, 1504. 1504 of the matter is that a Spanish urban Hernan, course. Cortes Cord's easy money of looking in the West Indies of Cuban spiel reached here, then him no special. Success not found, but further, when he is here from Cuba, scaled so his lottery nickel. I he you of Cuba in the district in the SMS Vernal Tagore. The costs to the ruling given that he is a force ready by Mexico too, there is a Spanish legal play, the is the same governor of the subordinates to be had then the same. Above the 18th of February 15201, 1950 the course of your 608 soldier and oars in the range 11 external ships on Cuba from the off will soon own this ship Mexico of Sahil eyes, which buffaloes to the R, while the existing system the city Vera crossed to reach the IT city, a truck umpire that we milk the inn included, had 600 people of the small sea legion of landing the ad tax by year 2. No risk feeling TB because he himself 60 million of the empire, were 6 million people of, and he himself. The mighty are also very understand were the same kind quotes, also their firms to own on your own, and the toes on as the straits. The strength of a few more not understand was but here, yes damage cadets to the firm from not your own, than we presentation. Of because of linkage had as straight in the plain show, Barat from a latest famous, was that there is a God. After which the world from being finished, is she one day will come so when we intersect in chords. Vera Cruz of Sahilon landed, and your with chains from the bound spanking horse is also brought now. The horseplay of people liked the first. Not the views were, that is why it is she that explained that their deity will come to, was that it make people Spanish raiders of combat to them rather than reverse them eat drink. Of goods and essential geography that from the beginning these people, from the chords to add a umpire of the strengths and weaknesses of very good like these, to be gone. So she all inspector, as they struggle on the climb of the plan making. The start are given but her no in India, the firms being of spite so big, umpires to control, to have a 500-600 people of the just of the thing, are not heard from. She'll make the people from such people looking to start the flashcards, which her solitaire becomes so, and its people he found were these. A large droves tax clown territory of the people of was, which extra umpire of this moment. Done now the enemies of the enemies, then friends would. Have so court said these people from the hand got taken rather? This locality itself in its new military base has also reset the lie this talk of new strips umpire of the Emperor Montezuma easily. Montezuma seconds to be created, but the issue was that he his, so we earthed the because from now until the Venus. More was it who people come to you, it's the Spanish attacker are? Or these and a their God also is, who's this umpire of the people? The weight was as he candidly course of, then on the knot came, but she first clocked porn effigies course of the pass. Very Sarah gold and silver passed and panic of the witch, the Spanish attacker come to you if he is the attacker, is then the terrain. From the nickel, should so she cords the gold from create, a sun of 5 to 6 feet wide. Love also sent the lady with the silver of a petite little frame different than it was which the moon's alarm had these from cord taste of friends. What causes his greed and flare woke up and he turtles of the hand which the messenger were there. Hands on your helmet, Montezuma's pass, sent and said that you, in a few, in gold, give because his people, too. It's killed people too. One such disease is just gold from far away to be may have Montezuma's, who, you and Hatim tie of news on the kick. Hit. The helmet, the gold of jewelry from ninth house quote given, when the helmet and her near reached gold, from the filled up so her sure to be, was cast the hospital as much as gold. It's very much gold as so now. She smartly from Montezuma, to the message sent that he is born not want to just there Daryl? Rulership of the visit to want to have a time to see want, is inside of the next Colossus by this visit of allowing to Kappa, and November 15th, 1950 points, 6 companions, and 1,000 tacks. Of alarm zoom 2 with the city and the filing to be, was sculpted Juban its own city from out as used to be in her. Your castle in the ordained but, and in this guess Nagy of the answer, given that Montezuma to his castle, only in this route. Make take is by the way friends of the castle of inside Colossus of the around. The guns that the Spanish attacker wandered live were her outgo of the permission do not give, were due and Colossus Azad was the host, was but basically in. He course. Of a prisoner become paying with Spanish prisoner Colossus from forced order. Carwa can be from gold and other things in the palace of the inside, not the major movie rooms in the stack. Tidily away go light the castle of a wall is also breaking. Her behind present much gold many precious me in, and the second stuff any booty taken was. If points to a few, and the time to get leads, then he tracks the absolutely poor, by we are the same from. Your path takes but suddenly it on a trouble coming. Arose whereby his zit Sarah, playing some late of the destroyed, begone you Taurus palace and deed cords to then hidden to fill your. End by making here referred to was but the boss has dropped the cross in which legal of them. Was that on the governor's rightfully hadith to the rather thereof governor become? Seated was its chief. The sitting was that is why it cute the governor has him arrested to the fore, a new army in his rear. Mexico will point to this army of the influx of ILM. Happened so he, his 88 peers to the palace and the king of the monitoring. Of 4, except the sentences of with, against the of 4 the running head she. Sahil on reaching new army to which the governor had sent was not just views. Spankiv given rather this post for most soldiers to arrest also are taken, than he these. Arrested soldiers to even the gold of greed by giving their VFDs by Lee now. Then have your peers your go from the present, as the overall total of 14 shop for dowry people of a small C good sizable offices, become the stack as he managed. That something was but when a very disciplined alarm backscaled so it is seeing the puzzled stay was that their punt overturned the stack is. And also with the same add the tax to the idioms in the coming already were, and it Mahashi Varatri hero. Of must halo friends happened to it was that the chords of the Maharashtra, Anti and his soldiers by a notch in the fun also the celebration of during the riot fracas, start, are given in which thousands aspects to the carrots radish of like. Cut. Off the highlights was the slaughtering of after the Spanish. Invading the castle and the visiting hiding the butt, this slaughtering from the aspects of it, and we utterly away. Bim that its people probably know God, and so this question of the object to be so now angry in the packed cities and aspects cop them, the castle of the Fraser taken. He has them hitting pay want where the weather of course quotes your force in an a kind castle of inside filing by your peers to have access was he-man. Our king the castle of the roof on the stand are given, and her ruling given that she's your people from saying that he is behind the hut to visit and no attack right-click croc SX by your emperor. Also, a not listened but he, colossus of the roof on the present. Having despite the castle on the attack, can put this battle in the ceiling on the stand. Montezuma is Lee, from Montezuma seconds also hit. Was honey to your own people's hands, or the then Spanish raiders of the hands but he learned from the run, was the analysis of the death of the latter course and his peers, the city. From the escape of the decision are taken, because now thousands of millions of people to castle and admissions. From Big Boss much late until T-Stop can were the people of God. Fetish and we away be been had and the colossus of the last scheduled finish to be done was grinding November so it's low in July 1520. 30 the night chorus and his peers the gold of as the mind lift the can were pointed and abscond to be engaged. Rather them know was that the ad tax barrier night the fight like not do so he. People the night to the castle of no special monitoring occurred when where that reason was that the Spanish late night of time to death did escape too for so when the Spanish people to the city from exit that but also super abscond. Are the rose then and acid women has them looking taken and noise making given. See the same, see the thousands of West soldier on their side. Seize the engaged acid soldiers by the former resistance leaders of the reign, are given dozens Spanish soldier. Gold from the river occurred sacks of with the gel and the loose, and these sacks of burden from water. In sinks can die that night the Spanish tune in not arrested. Said is whose mean is the sorrows of the night or night of Sunday. This battle in the 400 from 600 to nearly soldier killed were Spanish for Granny Clan S. Also a lot to be damage happened, but the aspects which it is, the battle the win. When to where she yeared this victory to a complete success in not turning up, is happened as that A24 sights from tax by the night of Sunday, and the Spanish force of the waist break given was but he gangster, or a leader, Hernan Cortes quotes. Life performance nickel, was that not rather? He is a battle in your top 2-1 students, to also spank the given edge selections reaching therein. Your etc. make people of help from the reaction of the preparations start are given, are this time he aspects on attack of the cases, and the new cannon of course usually on the ready-made force in the next year, i.e. 1521, until Zhang's preparedness and felt up was but, this is during the express, the with the bad it happened that their idea of the point spread has been the philosophy of this disease, just right, that the Spanish invading your with brought, were which straight umpire, and even these of because of the spread have been, were now in this new world of people, aspects of people these just see from. The lower T were because sometimes its insurance in this new world and the not dilated was so them natural clit this disease from the fight of the wall itself. Not to be PI was so. The city had a lot of problems in the 1500s like fighting and disease. A lot of people died from this disease and sleep was still a problem for the people of the city. This disease spread quickly and caused a lot of death. At that time the lyrics for 4A were sent down to the city where the attacker may have had the first cases of water. This was done to trick the smallest people. The little joys of comparing in these big cities had these on my back. Shailesh, the fire alarm from Aries, was stationed at the lake in the acid of the jokes. They will soon be crushed and put it back. After the city council paid for the artillery, the city bombed the walls. This city, which had strong walls, was not the result. It came out that the Spanish top eat. The rubble from the pile and the sea buildings made it hard for Spanish soldiers and their colleagues to walk and ride their horses past the city of Syed. In this city, admissions from the stop of tries but raiders of the firearms to the front by the Jordan pile, what can were so useless. Prove the same sea, the Spanish musketeer city and the filing to be made, and which is also there. Front came her cannons and guns from there on, went to butt this during the actresses bravely, from their city of a street thief. A houses of the look start doing given was, and a street, and an apartment the my Donnerist ban has caused every building in the Spanish occupation to fight desperately. Friends and sunshine are sick from the persecution. And the people then wheeler from the end till the rust release, not put as possible. Soon as they laugh, they have to be made and then panic. The common shares of slaughtering start doing, gave. Them the cities have also removed corrosion in thee, include only not. City of a terrain and the 12,000 people murdered, while a second area in a single day and 40,000 crime to panic raiders. The death of sleep color ago the raiders by the city's water. Supply also cut given was the chance 50,000 on porn guys. Lake in Mexico of saline water bottle fed life of the betting necklace the city and the survivors courts. Crumbs people to also choose the death of Pier, these Spanish raiders by. Ups and given the now city in wither eye. Sparkles was corpses scattered occurred was the Spanish legion was once so taken. Christian clergy were those who died when people were in the ER. They confessed to being loud when they were there. That's the second daughter attacker. There were features of religious rooms that were living dogs to further place are. Were in their books to burn are were because they're nearer at all extent. The three idiots of the last emperor had a moke, which Montezuma of the death of the post-human made, was he also arrested to be. Was this the last test? The colossus of the foot to below the Spanish people fire torches him forced to do or that. She has it tell us that the city and the rest, he who from the place you are where wealth was buried be may are. But this colossus by twinkling own, until Jubenot opened and it hanging gave given I am friends at an umpire is constantly of. To finish to be was and Mexico will be bound by the deal with Spain, But Mexico will also have an umpire from Fata. The last wall of the trail, which was the last obstacle, was named after them. The umpire is only this umpire of Catastrophiotex, which is likewise easy to set up. Music, the first umpire was 1521, and in the end, it happened. Is it 10? Years after the Spanish try by their umpire on any foray, lyrics given now low, as if the estate from even very large umpire had 1 million. 20 million from much of the population that this umpire of the present Ecuador from Cheni to extends occurred. Was its Darrell the Holy Cars Peru of the terrain in was? But when the Spanish forces here reached out, so they umpire of the Colossus it have a second corrosion of because of its 80,000 process of with 80. Englishman of with the pro of case. Pajamas of the made-up had penis, was its commander, Francisco Pizza half, and her have. Just 180,118 soldier. Or comrade where this 4th T workers in Darjeeling Hills quotes that army from very little was who at an umpire for Taydun was? That Budadeb of Francisco Pizza, which was at artfully and ambidexterity in the courts of many hands forward, did he know was that they are an army of combat, he not. Can dance with joy in the Colossus, the message sent that she its feast too. Want, is if the wallpaper also add the tax of the way Spanish people of artfully mindless of she. 5,000 well Mueller people of with unions, of with, per on and by his feast in platinum having come, has in there be trap and trap the king by the way. Place by walking through ideas of campgrounds and come was his dawn in your soldiers to hide given when they umpire of the king of riding. Cremi, then the peer has a pastor, Vincent the king of the pass sent to Wilson by the emperor from said. He this came to be, and the spin of the Colossus charging 5 of thing to confess the lie. Is Friday get power from denial, or given Colossus the rule on the pastor said.
Per the greetings.
Send given that he's people this rectangle confess. 2 on and the 4 5 to be blood, to be on the ready T. So then all the slaughtering of the ruling gave his men, had not were. Native Americans on the affair shell delivered and asking mounted spy swords of with these people on a broken set to 5,000 importance people to 1 hour of inside toughness from a few people. By decapitation are given was the Colossus of Sedan, flip him alive arrested or taken was then per. The Colossus to the force by his release of the return thereof, umpire. From, so gold-plated that a complete chamber gold from the unabridged around was but it is the temperature of the gold gained by also he Colossus. Something not a little stool of a new condition to keep given that if the Sunday find this rectangle. Fry can take so him Spain city today from many dear leave given will be that those who the life-saving of for this rectangle also confess the lie. But it forgiveness then also not have rather math as such date of paintings exist as Jinnit showed. Is that the gauge the neck has screws that bang it on the death of Pier? The death of the latter are the umpire of Hashar. The same thing happened in West Taxav up. The area was too soon only Spanish control in the running states in that both wires, i.e. their forest act as were New York, these raiders of the combat. To be of some right. Some let view were, but I am erased go to after the whole states in the European to prevent fetish now no one umpire. Where a city article Sultanate T was the next chand, said the elephants of throat. Mexico from ranging down at the jungle now till the states of a big territory in Spain. Ownership in being hidden as Portugal also had Brazil at the time. And in 1606, while the pots were being spun, it was a judgment of appearance in the ranks for America's side. Increases are where it ships this new world in America. In such a world, Mulk of the foundation to keep going was the one who came up with a few centuries in the world of Wahid's superpower, becoming the United States of America. The timer is now starting to be up. Was it all you show? But the history of the U.S. is the fire of gold in which people states in gold. They were looking for a 10-year-old baby who had the gold of the ear, which is literally the gold of the ear. So they didn't sit around and wait for the gold of the ear, gold mine in front. Date of pressing TR in characters in the U.S. from a is it? The British of the first townships James Stone to save and then settle down in the most ahem character. Pabius, this child of today, is also your Muslim people, or this child who was James. Stone how to populate and waste up, how Jamestown and A superpower origin of the substructure in the place I money. Raise the inch and watch and listen as the history of states in the United States that story show. Are you that it is the United States of America of the straight famed of the principality? Virginia its white golden sand takes sail on today? Thousands of sea revolve roamed are just 5 centuries ago, it Shahid definitely states. Was here the human being as if were but she, Sahil, from quite far away, lived, were here the native. Americans of Cotton Empire, was it 30 York of history due? Dozens countryside of appearance and the miles up spread up, was the same Sahil on this place, which 3 sessions today from the water in the walled occurred as here. 1607 and 1627 and 104 Englishmen by the big ships in the use of the land did, and here the first legal marriage he gave this colony to his emperor. But James is one of the names on James Stone of the right, thank you. And also with flowing fetish, it's Darya. James River called because he thought the British had James Bond in the tiny. Is he at the motel? George C. Township Besai? And also, against the sticks of a powerful, those things out vertically, are supplied now he it to the Jean's top court. It turned out to be involved this fortress in the grass chaff from Jodino. Homemade almonds slightly a church Amir did, was it classic in its appearance in the maid, was which every corner on a bridge was, and every turret on a cannon laid. Was it all some therefore have been that, if the Spanish people, which that Englishman of that round and shredivy, enemy hard, or she is Native American, or make us G's mistake from the start. The Indian understood was he if attacked to then gemstone of people the whole around the swampy was the crop growing of to the present not. Had the result it turned out that a few were in the gemstone in the frock of the wedding tealock too many. People hungry from die engaged then, it friends a little C10 sala. Girl their help to the eye, it is the 10 years of the girl cotton coil of the baby girl was the girl of basically
Ow.
the name then he already was, but you're the religious leaders of the hand and non from the more famous homemade, whose mean was that the naughty girl in the mysterious forest at Girl Jeans. Top those up, how will happened it that the gemstone populate the being of some part after 1627 in only a day? Native American. By an Englishman, John Smith. The hold took he his 2 comrades of the with the word umpire of the terrain and the very far up inside, until gone was where 200 of the object. And Jew said that on the Atabara Colossus by John Smith, to kill to the ruling on given the sumat of Surah stone on keep given, was the thing which one pulls from his skull. Breaking the same habits was that suddenly a 10 fucking baby runaway occurred, and he is your sir. Smith of the sir of the above, to keep given the atmosphere on silence, enveloped the sumat, the kill of the dead. The hand were the same. Freeze that the girl said Smith of lives, and save too for this first ceremony full of W. This umpire of that was 5 years of the daughter, was the daughter of the middle in Cumgo, of because from King Smith's life-backed team, as later in she, guess knows of in to do, while him, his mouth uttered a son by making safety from James Stone back sin, given this take of, after he killed sir, eat drink of stuff ranging. James Stone goes start to be made this respect from James Stone in, and your far end occurred in there of people. To new life get gone, is that because the Englishmen them their weapons and other tools? It's he said page give, were it the friendship and business of the happiest pizza, some grown quite a bit of these look, but then as of Francis said, is that heard as an age is noble-minded. Thy heart of even so, it is both the case in thy heart of age. Very soon the whole is music a man's heart and circumstances alter because he agrees with the side. Eat the stuff of demand. Dabideros grow. The fuck was but for trains to pass. So much the dose was only less fun it was to Virginia of this. Area arts for centuries and first time worst under the ground from 24 was among the Native Americans of the have also James. A stone of people to give of the pizza is free food. T had the chance both of talks and the FTP starting to be made, but Dallas save of the 1600s show in John Smith. Cotton of the Colossus from the meet where it met, was it he, hence she weeps while Smith tells the man that is my father you murdered to swallow, is that the part can be then part go to Smith of life, and save a second time bottom? Of that I was. But this committee is not a book exactly the superpower of the midst of the fresh flower thing. he mistakenly in the made to be receiving, was Smith and his partner complete, usually on the life. The covering portion, and Jamestown will also be added. Kalu, all the people of the lives rescued were, but some are after Smith injured through England will get to travel to wear these gemstones. The much spy and much people of the with the thing to England from a new governor also accessed has been yes this during. Jamestown and buttons rocking the talks again from quite normal be the were before. Such is not that normal to be the new governor and new people to come from James? Stone of the population is now growing was now it's also being felt. Was that gemstone from a few people rush the points? The ones who have lost pets were, and that their the due were to remember that moment of James. Stone and most guys only populate the being of the four. England and Europe from the fall were airpin of the droves, not be of equal matures. Was so friends this rising arose manly. Criminal nature of Englishmen by the illegitimate and rich in advantage to raise. Start be he so Native Americans on the attack began. And is the second that gambling after work not blonde a drink of goods of the lack of tight come and arrived? Inquiry from the who met were, and therewith be the start can give were them these people, has James Bond the living ones. The traitor. Agreement to pay start the given pin fugitive British to seek, have been and then which is also the gemstone of the peoples. Of the hand took these from him alive burn gave bin, or then no and painful the death of punishment, was that he what of. Because of their light and the other tribesmen by now Jamestown, come only leave given but its result. Jamestown of the hack and so you turned out to be happened. That the 1609 and when the Virginia the area worse say from the passing is the gemstone and eat a drinking the stuff of the first as much reduction was this. On forced it happened that England from strong 300 people, Jamestown come, is it people you're with eat drink of any goods also not brought, were the chances all of a second. To hop from there, and the same eyes and call lent, when as happened is this weather in Sharma, from the winter. From he therefore she reverence were why Virginia, in the weather in Sharma very. Body would have had to eat the few that didn't get was. The victim, and not be by some dunk, so very far away. The item was such as in the hunger thirst from Jamestown in it, people die began to see. A few weeks and 100 Englishmen people Maya water became where he alive survivors he hungry purge. A for your pet dog cats, by deleting your boots of leather until the boil can eat taken. When it all finished to be such life intact to retain the two a shorter give and startled the work done was. He your dead comrades of the corpses tombs from. Take, and them. Also special is by removing any weak dye. The human person of jism from the blood flowing feels so sexy in this blood, will also chart pets, are the way around the exterior, has that round an appetite. From the dye up to a 14-year-old girl of damaged skull of help from her face, the model. Also made as that dye of after cars has his zombies removed that moment. The same see this unlucky female of the fictional name Jean placed, was that round to James. A stone of date in the beginning time, or the reality of the round. Saying is that round in the British the depression this extent until the moving made was that a lot of patience, said Jamestown. Except the phase of the near Native Americans of the near making also was, in their society, the difficult part. Become the were 1609-60, when the weather in Sharma startup was then Gemstone in 500. Englishmen whole were 500, but Sharma. What are only 606 human beings snow in the set breath of the lanyard Salamat, almost survived, or then that which weather. Just come up so he God's leave given, and England go to for Sahil's side go, but Sahil on them away from the few. Where are visible given ship England from coming in? Are worthy ships all over? Jamestown of the new house not return in addition to webpage and Mon? Zindabad car sectors riders were these on eat. Drink of the stuff is also a partner in thought. Happened was these ships of the influx fact Englishmen, of to a paradise is good news from a low, not was she who your journey lovers and all. Expectations the lost have been, were their chest this some expectations of the news from around the inn. Which the new life see, travelling to England's return of the planned side are given, and James Stone of the fortress in the note is 1610600 by James Stone. In step placed if it occurred township was here to find where but the acts of the kind appeared, to give where the love of the last breath. On the alive people, the food start to be, and with the same button umpires against corrosion of the preparations. Also start to do you before she umpire from Mutelaby, be that he those Englishmen to get back to who now in James's with leave given. Was on those people to subscribe to give wanted was, but it's in these hands. It's free to hand over to the denial made by those on the attack of the for a bogus document, these troopers said, roofing of a etc. Ranging village on the attack done in there, which no even his hands felt her inhumanity of the death of peer. Lowered again, and he has in village of the Queen and her 2 innocent children to hold taken Malika to James Stone brought was so. This is from the alive lit be as yonder this during the military squad of the commander of the Queen, on Ramans or commander by him alive burn. Instead sour her decapitation can put it that Englishman Commander Carstays was in such attacks. On arrived this between the lull of seating that not were she Jean's top of the throat, on either overtly attack not the can, where because he Englishmen had so pensions are housed where it's combated in front of people not doing the can where except for the Jeans don't from the bee farming barry or someone in work from go. Who Englishmen religious less are were he the s, treat the birth of the unusual with the addition now James Bond. The plan from it, the wine of supply, was even near to being done. See, cush of nail will be the technique to adopt on the think start. But here he had me come today of the base on not rather Tanton point on the gain, did he? Big boss, the abducted, are taken perfect peace. Cuckold because from Jamestown to now's new life in the Ajay on the music, it's that the British had cracked, get him a time to make certain, people with mixed at home the piercing she who, knows was she the girl in the any excuses Englishman of the external ship in the take came and he Englishman's hands it's are become made this year, was 16131631. Av and he whose age was number 15,016, with he of marriage the British response U.S. date. Of a very important chapter is because this rumor of after he button umpired to the British for further. Crouchhead was the gorilla rust finish to lying was, and the eye of supply even then restored to lying was the British by the corresponding. Unjust not done, but he who forced Christian made his Christian name will remain put, in one Englishman John, and from his marriage also had given with the wedding of the British by the custom of tea, to have among of the girl's marriage of enabling to supply that therewith bait, and what was but this girl. By those Americans to which gold, looking to the failed try doing. There were a gold from Goldman from any cares in the no-tell, gave it Sarah Steam the on-the-come-up centuries. In the Englishman of the life and death of operations was the same rule by the United States of America, of the weak freedom, of the basis laid it today was both tobacco, and I hope, right Alan, of tobacco music. Is the British of James Stone settled down from the first he Spanish people who? Jewy states in the decapitation every taxer were, he is Native American from the tobacco. That the secrets and tricks to learning have or which after from that penis people tobacco to loud apply by 5 questions. Made are, were but the tobacco to be of Rajput, any other from stock not due, where that reason was that the tobacco of evidence? On the Spanish attackers of a yard was a century until she and Englishman farmers' hands also take the witch them. Ranging 1612 in gemstone access has been friends this Englishman. No, and not while John Ann was whom later in the Polish coerce the wedding occurred was by your wedding when John James Stone in Tibetan. Build on tobacco as was but at no success. T find the getting was that he is this tobacco to comes fundamentals at the ready. Could, and that level can prepare tax, so if you he forthwith from the wedding of after James Toad, by now, it's tobacco and England descend start. Are supplied whereby the Spain of the enterprise. On which the yard was named, was he finishes having engaged at the moment, was when the gemstone of the short sea ghetto for the first time, a profits. Colony from a sustainable legal ban has been it since then. England from the coming ones of the line looking has been. England and the entire of Europe from a lot of the people James Stone arriving and its surrounding tobacco and come hungry James. Bondwatch only saw a tiny sea township is a fortification from the very enormous town become, was now merely declaring, are you James Stone being the first 11 brushes? And here, China's droves total 100 of the roughly it from the less was, and your display of with James Stone I was, and today also he has been. But when the school impatience of the droves grow inside, so it's coming up the company's business world of it for the first time start of 2000, 19,609. They have 90. The gemstones sent were these winds by make voice cars from here to marriages of sideshoe gemstone and the tobacco of with family from the house is, and the family life of any trauma happens soon, then become crippled. So now the child must be from the start. The family fill the inside, and with the taboo of the farm is also the outbreak began. Now they walk the fields of the labor of need. Been had but the gemstone of the squire, so rich were that workers on the job from the hire. By here, bring, and then their salary for the vote. To by the way, also every Englishman who York from coming was he, states the zombies, much the same ground on where. To whether your ranch spread could was your emphasis, sleeved on so this farm. In the wages of 4 the issue creating happened to her, solve one such object from the flange which come up the men by the states of set. For a new mashed become the stand occurred, but the truth inquire. So today is also the same states that the Ford line is, and the fruits of the name was. Africa from smoking are the 119 in the gemstone of the ship by Dashroth, of help from a Portuguese ship. The booty taken this Portuguese ship, slaves of evidence of the use would have had this. Because from 500 form the African slave whom and from the Y, the child also included these James Stone take the moved was James. Stone of the form by here from 20 Psi form slave purchase for the United States of America of land on he alarm, are you will the battle 100 years on stretched round start will be because starting in, agree to have? James Bond in it, and the wicked is very little ground was so many times the authorities said, so your lawn, and the backyard and the same kind of small farm homemade housed were here he, tobacco contain, were then when. Englishmen of the population grow hard, so them new lands of the need to feel occurred, and he word umpire of the ground preemption. Start to do you, by the way. Even he said, which the British and Native Americans and Amor-Wahid guarantee was he at that moment finished to be done, was because 1616 in this moment, that. We speak RRR there 3-4 years ago, the Peckham your city John off. And son of, with England lasted was England in, he the colossus genes of the court in the present occurred. Where from royal guest made was also plenty of hospitality occurred, but it's so post-created pets, were in which her but also veneer in. Shonar had an interest rates in his this side the name bad back, the written was this and boggett from naturally happens, is that the England of the human to the nearest James Stone of the survival of the he thing is very important that. We this but 1617. In England of the hand from it trump the leaf nickel was the Virginia return of the Durn a time ship the big boss of feeling bad. Be bin him back to England's terrain Briggs and transported was where his death be gone. And to it, at the same locality and then buried are given, has been so we have Native American this girl's history statement when you are above it is secret. It is that she mayhem death not occurred was rather aside from the hit, was murdered. Have been had wherefrom he said. Today the states of this period. The whole scheme is a latest become, already have this on closer movies and cartoons also. Become already are 1995 and homemade, made an animated film. In he which James Stone of Governor John Smith the love and the arrest also shown was then he, whose death, though with only the British and arrived umpire of the year, and Sean of the round end to be, was the cotton of paraffin now, Englishman. A blackmailing from Azad B already were, so he too. Madrasad of the pass of the data were, he James. Stone of the around, the Englishman of new populations, to use much mafuz not, was the target make a start. To do 162 to 1622 in such as an attack in women and children, including 347,347 Englishmen killed, were these reaches, and John Off also included was the which, his wife's death. The after Virginia returned to Came had their lives, was but this slaughtering from any Englishman of the population, possessed the settlement stance not could an Englishman their times the twink on twink giving virtue of the same delete. Are Englishmen to have guns to support the Illiva? Some such suite and maintenance of help is also included, was which mountain points those. Of the enemy, 1644-64 in the word by the British, as against its independence of the last. corrosion fought this decision costs was the one who 500 Englishmen and also machine-killed the butt. This November also, Poa turns necklace gone and is at. That time the king also murdered that 1646 and arrived. The weapon put the given and the British by Oem Namo, obey of the name, on he button up the slave, by making their most gaming snatch take. Yun gemstone of short sea habitation from the beginning. To that Englishman feel the 39-year and trust in the bogus rules of the big part, on the place to be the sexy Englishman who was fashioned in Virginia and arrived, and her colossus the crown crowned was today, his throne in the crown, and the ground all some snatch have were today plundered the Sultanate of Misgiair, reveal it 1,500 acres of a land living has been, as whom the farms of the reservation of the name given, was that it becan like the station at that colossus. Of the gift that the sin of the face make, is this reservation, in the word umpire, of the remaining. The breed of some people today, also populate, is such question, surrounding the other by the big boss too. For any of these, it is whose land these. People by the American listened, and 300 was Virginia. So agree. The occupation in the run was but 1699, in 699 gemstone, also had vanished, was of course. Now the same place memorable of the normally on Jamestone double timer have been that which, the world around from the view of the sea heavenly fall, are here advanced of these ships. The models also stand or covered on the gemstone from before or after the car even arrived, or while James stoned to life, giving one's joiner me time also. James Bond in England in the vein, is then it was Marie Curie Fellow in the United States of America and the British of the first townships, James Cameron's story with us. Such a superpower, the wheat to the foundation laid, but friends, when James told your success of 1/3 of those attacks being was so, Englishmen us now, we report the legal even down to, or were its legal so managed occurred, that today, every 1/10 the U.S., the same legal from the interconnect. Stocked as the brain from the independence of Pakistan has also basically in the same legal from the birth. Took was that legal of the story indeed that America the story is whom you and we. Today, this yoke from say are that 30 colony of the story Jamestone of slave, this new colony of work. How came the sand and the crops? How grown is he Thanksgiving Day was it? Halloween of hot black power at all. ULL, Showmonger District. Of America Season 1, of with the war and the last what, about 500 years ago. Massachusetts for sale on an English ship, anchor style up. There is a shock almost people present were they that the cream of the cream. Also, is a ghetto play a meat beside, where a ghetto beside were also the cream for the Native Americans. Of a large hard-boiled not damn a day, what happened that poor notes of a man, the British? To pass came and said to have spoken, it's the English. How comes it was, and friends he who bit state is whom American your children from hide, want you us the freedom of the inheritor's skin he known. The reason have happened. I am the product and look at the start no of history of America. Season 1 of the last installment in the we. You that's all showing RRR to Halo Friend States and the second pod in legal play. Friend first legal gemstone from 700 kilometers. Away Massachusetts of Sahialam beside bin. Was it to play with so-called was because it populate to that brain that the port of departure. Though were his name, played the Chile itself, was the colony of the first, or after the cars of the large teeth, with a special in itself, than the third from the interconnect. Hang up was that, after the pilgrim said was whose mean is renewing journey. Of the window, while the mother, all the people brain in, having this then, of the religious freedom achieved T, was because at Pilgrim's 1620 in the proposed amendments to the port play. A meet from marine ship in for the rider through America's side. Ventured to this people test day, 65 days of travel to after. December 1620 in the American homestead Massachusetts of Sahil, on anchor we slave. The virtue of Moses in the 300 and the child is also present where these people said, here populate are hidden among themselves in a vanguard did the boys decide to be added. That the colony of people your Kevin own will but fresh brain of the faithful will continue in your religion Christianity of that particular set on the praxis. Also do keep it legal, Inspector, and they come up breeds of lives in a cush. By the inheritor was but the start occurred in the very sea troubles these up. One with the broken lying ago trouble. So it was that when there arrived so desperately winter the weather was heatier, for the ginger undercut, which sticks to the heart's kind of maid. Lay where he failed to prove a while, and it survives breezes. Would that enter flowing through, occurred in their bones, up and landing her second big difficult? It was that the around of the ground sand. Lee was at something as also growing farming bari to impossible had the chance to voice do the soon only eat of hunger facing the third, at the same time as those on the broken of legal in disease. Spread has been, and soon the only legal to further people, i.e. 52 close crime death of sleep the which the rest of the survivors. Their condition dead from even worse, was when the photos failed to be made, so now these religious background of the people by any socks of hope, felt Lee and see. That A, the mystery of the existing B, also added he, you to play mix will this terrain in the sentence was she native. American of a powerful coven pocket also populate was whom later in the Englishman S when the under the data fry. Give the start have had these people said, when limit legal to un waster seen in these it is said. So he is their help of the I, which the first person this colony of people from meat came he Cox, of the religious primate. Somerset was its Sahil. On arrival that the Englishmen mosquitoes from their Juban learn Lee was then, it English comes was, and at the same, by these people to play, pepper of the people the halo. Said was so stopped that she played the myth seekers the help of, for the moment the referred to therein by the master he was it. The British to save the two come, but they sympathize. Sheer free in the knot was the British to pass the viral problem. Lemon of ammo, it testra, was when the Pakara cuts to your enemies from the Ven 4, to such only weapon should be heard, carbon offices of the Colossus Mysore. Your Englishman, from the way. The took was the same because the Englishman also your soils for the sake of friendship enemies from the corrosion of the ready begone. But the rust from wearing heat no like were, that the sand and the harvester, how grown is that? If the Native Americans of the answer was the fish of the compost. From G yes my American. From the sand and the fishes, the buried are the top sand put give the were in there. The harvest grow a were in its biceps in this crop of the manure of work she was now meaty Americas of the famous rapper. Englishmen had the fish of the manure from the corn of the harvest grow start or given, and some only time in the play. List legal to work around the corn of the beautiful farm he engaged per fish of manure by he. Current shown whose playlist colony of people too passionately from the weight was. Englishmen of two or the question of chance was. But today, evening from. The first Englishman the AN work payloads to pay had he caught of the enemies to finish the fuck was that he fastened when were the 2 and the 14th of August 1621. 600 of the night the box of a group by the British though with the overall your enemies. To a village on the attack made the British the village on the tablets of Rainy. Do you see the same, see the sleep of the litigants, in a while dozens of the death of sleep in the breath? A. The English and the box fatahs drunk from the star through play. Amit legal and back arrived in the first crop of the harvest of celebration observed in this celebration of basically date friends today. Anyone to know not, but it is the celebration 1621, 1671, in September, from November to, between only a moment made, has had these employed stay that celebration in the printed game played for thee, in the battle of machines also of the even. And that's why just 50 were but the Native Americans of the droves. Much was their king. I have moon in your ninth peoples, with no people of with this feast in the mister, was it Native American? You're with the task made, while 5 deer and wild fruit were also brought, where the British had a large sea. Hen, turkey, and other mines from your guests of transfers of it as a great the celebration was. Of course, is it South TBSP of other Native Americans of the corpses unobserved, was that it was murdered by come were, and it's the latter were usually on he of notes, and the Englishman friend also become the were but friends of the notes. And this terrain in the living that the rest of the Native Americans, to even long-term in this little bit, we have this friendship very expensive arose because playlist legal of the success of that here in England, the straddle populate. The were when the person localities in the British to move strong to be gone. So he Native Americans in the slave-making of the agenda. On the work started are given then a corrosion occurred, which since there is no doubt is that the Englishman. This locality of the owner to be want, are Native Americans of the friend not playlist legal for. From of merely 15 years after 1636. 1636 in the British by the Native American his one in sledgehammer. The fire felt given in which about 20 breezes. 3 children and older stranded it. Look at all the people, this fire and this addish in the alive water. Undead-eyed the young man up to it. People mother changed the call are, but any Englishman to these unpressing not come to these people of native. American with his powerlessness on Commander John Mason, by this reason have said, that thee inscribed these people on the goose. Having inscribed thee, and her purveyors of the enemy were, and therein, it burns up the tander made given, had it inscribed. The infidels of against the decision was, and inscribed by this place, the corpses from across given then John Mason, the corpses of the Count of. And say, while uttered this feature of rectitude fetish decision as IA, and the English commander under, part which this slaughtering in include, was he then the women and children of the murdered to it, he justified the agreement, gave it the hair platforms, need religious books it is declared, and are that the women and children, to even your mother dads with the dead go, should that round too, and even a lot from thee. British by this face to justify done, its soji arm, introduce the American Holocaust of Bushan affidavit, channel the New England of a religious primate roofing myth of sighting, given that this person, H, the inside 500 from 600 surplus, that the world from the end to be made were the on the he made, while we're so friends this variety of soji hand from exclusively, from the Englishman his crime, and to justify to the try while living were, and now even do, you are this birth in which that about a corrupt continue making the backyard. Alley complete normally on the wipe, be added these two all in hand, burn given the survivor's court's crumbs. People the ropes from the shackled seas and the throw gave was this orb. By selling given was which the clan of the way have been you. Then the New England of the maps from this ever-ranging in name. Remove the new map, recreated the cricket in flowing, that a sea of whom speak what river said. Eyes had its name transformed by the beans river said go, felt the same, sea of the edge. Pick up what is the name only of a town, was whose name the New London are given, which is that today is also the corresponding name from the work is, but the record never takes you the same then, friends. The castle beginning was the face of almost 38 years later, and large corrosion occurred, and this time this week in Native Americans of the freedom of the last session today. Also some music. Halo friends, we have you shown was that how she is of note ever taking after the directions in the jumper, hasn't play omitly go the help of was, and is there first. Thanksgiving feast and also Sharik happened, was but 1661 in when its death occurred, so play. Mix will that people you're the Mahdi's sons from fighting began, however, as these of the sons said, if your name is also an Englishman, such as housed while there were, 1675 until friends, 1675 until positive Americans in this stunning custom come. Was that it, people? Your name? Englishmen of names such as keep engaged were 1661, 606, in the blasting of death of after her big son Colossus made? So therein lies your name is Alexander of yourself. Englishman by Alexander on a plot of Ilum planting. 1662 in it arrested and famous by the death of Pierre Ups given this cream decoction its brother, whose name was Job, was he the Colossus made it its English name. Long kept the clip by the British from Amman persisted, keep up the try of but have failed, is because it was that Englishman of the attitude now of note, the clan of the with very. Chahan Ramesh to be added was insulting. To be added was he, the notes on the ruling run began at that moment far. This Serata recently had the pockets Englishman from the weapon. Buy were in turn in your ground by them, give our were but 1671. In the British said, Clipta said to him, forced to such as airport on underwrite had for that lady under you box, the Englishman of he firms also will get to set, who he his mine. By giving the gain made were that the UFO of the box of hands. From the weapon also gone, and the land granted was, and you Ruby now complete normally on the Englisheme. The zombies have found, so you limit the legal by the decapitation of false. Elem Native American on putting the 3 people to the gallows. Given this spot on the flip, the also used reminded, and Heeser on the shroud shackled Englishman from a Falcon battle fight. Nickel stand-up clips in Englishman of corrosion, the files often said, is, and its birth a year continue getting. 1675, from 1676, and 1617576. To these films, and this place native, Americans of the last rust of freedom, Scott and Pockets G, learned from this battle and fought. And why fight report their come-up breeds of the life and death of the issue as but at positions. The very same week was because the British to pass guns had, and it accounted from the America's Native Americans in the empty hand. Because he's so airports under your guns ago, the same will get the have were a little too bank, which he Englishman. From the stripped found were or half samples in France, from the gain did do where he on, of the unsatisfactory, was so them your last rust. Arrow command such as weapons of trust on the same fight, was that when the battle started so soon, as the British of side fat up and news of the eliminated started to be, was the British. By your old every time, then a rotated and Native Americans of the village run start job as humans, from populate the settlements of ashes that look the D. Has been, and these torches padding, given was the Englishman that's so heartless. To be made were it, the idea that this thing from the planted going to be, is that the Englishman religious primate and Musanif modern. Matured by the countryside burn of acid, the big single of with time monk agreement, given to remember are that, this is rust and some Native Americans, even Britishers of with giver were the pivots of help from. Was that the slip road this Ireland on your brother village and hiding up is so? British and their grandma Native Americans said that the village, on the attack done then in New England and the Native Americans of the rust, a freedom of the last hero, here also their hand not came to. Led by the bullets of the combat bay degree from done in fight, the hit was so Wi-Fi so it is that it the person by decapitation did he same as ever. Leon was but now, this came to be David Silverman. An American writer, wrote a book about Declad and their land. Are that this note colossus of the severed, the hand its murderer conquering man of handover? With one hand to then send the given and the other hand to feel the took it home the coming who people it. Money by giving pocket colossus of chopped. Up hand saw, when were clips of Sir Cut, can take the mix will and the brought was, and a wilderness on placing the population to be destroyed are given has clips of the face and the sir of meat so a few weeks in the free, etc. Eating the or, he gangrenous, rotting gone, but the New England of the last stage only king of skull 20, from 25 years until the yogi instructions on higher tank, getting clip of the death of joy and the play myth in Massachusetts. Legal affection thy August thee is where the 5th day celebrate the Thursday, be it just friends. Whose father, Englishman of helpful maid was, and who these vegetable songs. The crop growing of way told was today her remember Museo at the same Massachusetts. And where he ever do so, friends, this is who today from Hyde want you, but then also the media in. Soon only and only become was and is today until it's gone come doing that, but now, August and Malik Ambers the last night there, the 1863,806 in the United States. Sadr Ibrahim Lincoln has the Thanksgiving Day on the vacation of Congress had today to intact as while the states in which today exist as he, is this day that he grieve? The National Day of Mournings officially on celebrate, are these films for later. Englishmen on the complete normally on overtaking be made by your ground lost already were, and longer. Term importance through living the were while the states. Of the areas in Fromas provide only gone BR, were these sectors the later cars, the states of decorating so ras iPhone, that here cause being up there, breeds a pocket. Stated the average height to inch until moving has been every clan and an average of 8 children born to be R were, in this rising Hui population to prevent fetish, and no not. Had plants legal in the later cars of Leyden so extends that today every 1/10 the U.S. The corresponding legal from the interconnect stocked, is it legal a kind of seed? Was it after 100 years from Vikram overdue and famous that American cities on thy English legal years after B, was this during nominees has also America and V Canada of the terrain on the captures are taken, and where today a little bit as he is Spain's legal was so like it's your opinion. Which the Lord and of the second from the fight were here to brain Spain and France and the city's borders of the case on the battle to be engaged in that flick on the 1756-2006 and a large corrosion of blows adopting attacks has been this battle among Native Americans. Your choice of the accused, the original of what do, where hear them study the advantage. Comes was a pot perplexed 19 of a force at legal. Mark say where he Englishman of the side of this battle fighting the sky was an also. Asia as an officer of the name was search in the AJ on the music that states in these, your fucking organs. Of this in fashionable this year, since 1765, from 063 in the Paris. Airport S under the Canada and the US from France to remove out, have been Canada's dint French territory brain of the possession, in the move to the States in the French. Territory versus in Spain and the far limited are given the while Spain zia the control. Florida, on even the dishes in the capture hadith are taken, has the Native American S. Also some territory which at that time to liberate, where he even brain. Of the possession and the go, where you pot in 1,000 year 13 colony, from the this many, terrain, until the spread of its states in the pot and rushed the rulership of every day, was the peak time was but with solid corrosion of the hand in on the British. Umpire has two such mistakes of the WHO states in its stores to hand in on the seal twirl's first fault, was that the brain by the rust from lack removing the reach that the loss of the safe of the American colony, this on the new tax figured given. Special usually on Shavaya. The report on the big heavy tax probably are given is the brain by the text then planted, but the American legal possibilities. British Parliament in nomen, absolutely not any other fault lean brain by this corrosion. In France, than in the areas in your experience now, cars of the decade in on the same punctuality, twirls in these areas the only. Native Americans to make them Red Indians also said Leeds is there to reserve, are given that here now, just place. In the U.S. provided only populate one, or will brain Native Americans of the lands to the gift-giving of the states. Seen this Indian returns with close stay that hundreds drink after cars, to even a second places on the must-do, given the British umpire of these 2A2. i.e. takes the knife tea in Native Americans for the sake of Europeans to the homeless too. The son-in-law on the American legal and the Englishman postal become the rage and the coming gone, and these days in the uprisings. Northeast change her uprisings of the inheritor. Happened in this city Boston from which the playlist. Legal from about 70 kilometers away is then Yoon and the American newspaper in a painting stomach and the mahout of the hinges. Freedom of soon in changing made this painting into a new come. A foundation laid, and right here from the United States of America by birth, took this story was the East India Company, the advantage of delivering the tri-Englishman to very expensive lying. Why is he a unique party? Was with the world of the map. Given it all, you'll show but history off states of the next. I see that of the first installment in the So Friends History of America. Season 1, in this installment of the With Unblemished Be Going To, is it you do leave comments in. Your opinion, of course. Give it the America of the Season 2, even a few days in, the friends on your front will be the first. Season of the one with the states of pity ranging,